Robbie Williams Rewind.
Welcome to Robbie Williams Rewind. We are the champions. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lucy.
And along with help from special guest fans, we take you on an in-depth rewind through the solo career of multi-award-winning singer, songwriter and entertainer Robbie Williams.
Today we're talking about Reality Killed the Video star, and our special guest fan is Tony Lewis, who is a Robbie tribute artist.
Good morning, the champions.
Hello.
Welcome.
How are you?
We're good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
These have been like a lot of fun. And like when we spoke about it, kind of, let's just get an hour here or an hour there. And then I listened to a few. I was like, Jesus, I need a few days to do this.
True.
The amount of effort and research and stuff you put into it is pretty phenomenal. I've got to say it's dedicated. And I've learned listening to certain stuff. I've learned some really like cool stuff about songs that I've sang for 20 years that I never knew about. And I think I've got a good insight into the Robbie back catalogue, but learned some amazing things. And, it's been the good for keeping the car journeys as company on there.
Well, I'm really pleased that you've been enjoying them. We
Yes.
were pleased to hear that you were. And we too are learning every time. I mean,
Yeah.
Lucy does the really in-depth research. I come up with couple of crap facts every now and again and do all the technical stuff, but we have been learning quite a lot, haven't we?
Yeah.
Stuff that we just didn't even imagine.
Teamwork.
Before.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So tell us, what made you a Robbie fan? Or were you like a tribute artist first? Which way round did it come?
No, I was a fan first, so I feel like really lucky on it. And like now, just this year, we've been going full time this year, 20 years, so like 2 decades.
Wow.
So it's been like, but I first went to the Royal Court, like the Show Off Must Go On, the first one.
Oh, wow.
The first tour. So I was like, what was that, 97, like October 97. And it was like really, the irony, a few people who've listened to like anything I've said before, both of them, have kind of, will know this story, but I was getting people saying, oh, you look like Robbie Williams. And when I was 15 and wanted to play football and very, very naive and stuff like that, I was like, I don't want to look like somebody in a boy band. Then, when you get to 17, 18 and people are like, you look a little bit like Robbie Williams, and it's maybe a girl in a bar and you're going, this is not a bad thing. And then, you kind of fast forward then to like Royal Court, my mate, my best friend, Chris P, he got life through a lens and then recorded it onto a tape and then give me that tape. And I remember listening to it. I had an Iowa Walkman, listen, like off air, we were speaking about the different formats. So like my first Robbie experience was on a Walkman. And, I remember walking to my girlfriend's at the time and Angels came on and it was snowing and it was like so kind of profound moment. And it's just like, wow, you know what I mean? So like real kind of sliding doors moment. And then we kind of got hooked as he became a solo artist. And I think that rock and roll, like that rebellion, that kind of character kind of really appealed to me at the time. My mum and dad had just, were just breaking up and I was rebelling a little bit. I'd been pretty good at school, went to college, rebelled a little bit, got kicked out of college. So kind of, it was all like, relating to kind of my life as well. So then we kind of go into that Robbie bubble as a fan. And I remember like queuing up outside the Royal Court and these 3 Scouse lads, we were like the only lads in the queue. Everything was like, take that, fans. Yeah. And remember just queuing these guys coming in. Hey, lads, are you fucking gay or what? You know what I mean? It's just like... And then, fast forward 20 years and what it's kind of brought to us and that. But I just remember that first gig and just going, this guy's just a superstar, and just being, just mesmerised by his energy on stage. And I suppose a lot of that kind of early Robbie kind of energy subliminally kind of I picked up on and subconsciously it's like took in, and I think that kind of that served me really, really, really well, obviously in the career that I've kind of chosen, or chose what chose me. And then, here we are now just chatting about it You know, it's 25 years since that gig now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Madness.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So when did you first, become Robbie?
I was having a shave and my mum said, turn that radio off. Yeah, I was just in a bar on a football trip, and obviously people look a little bit like Robbie Williams and blah blah blah, and the lads just got me up singing karaoke, and I was 10 sheets to the wind and pretty wasted, after 48 hours on the keg, but you could do that at 21.
Yeah.
Got up and ended up winning a competition that I didn't know I was in, that was season long. Won a competition, went back for a final. One of the judges said, do you want to become Robbie Williams for a show of a friend? Legends there. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Fascinating. I didn't know any of that.
Right place, right time, yeah.
Yeah, lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously we'd like to think that we've made a bit of our own luck along the way. But in saying that, you've got to be the right place, the right time. And, when you're kind of doing it for 20 years, obviously the longevity of Robbie is integral to that.
Yeah.
You see people who started as Kylie, then they went and did a bit of Britney, and then they do a bit of Gaga, maybe a bit of Madonna, come back as Britney, come back as Kylie.
Yeah.
It's just that, seeing that kind of evolution of other acts, and then Robbie to maintain that standard, I think it's kind of speaks volumes about just how amazing he is.
Yeah.
As a performer and as a musical legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely.
One of the reasons why we did
true,
the podcast, actually. I think he gets critical acclaim. Obviously, we know that he's had the ups and downs, and people like to kick him when he's down and everything else. But I don't think enough people stand back and actually look at his entire career, as you've just talked about, and actually say, "Wow, 25 years is." Incredible. Yeah. So it's incredible for Robbie. It's incredible for you as well, Tony. I think that's I know the hours you've probably had to put into that over the years, and the sacrifices you probably had to make as well to keep that kind of career going.
Yeah, I mean it's mad that I've sang "Let Me Entertain You Angels" more than anybody else on the planet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
more than
just
him.
Like yeah. It's just, he kind of does a 20-date tour. And I do that in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or something. It's just, and I think the amazing thing for me is that there's obviously some songs that I prefer to others, like anything. But also, like, people go, you must get bored of singing. I never get bored of Entertain You. I never get bored of Angels. Never get bored of Come Undone. I never get bored of, like, even Millennium now. Rock DJ. Never get bored of these tunes. I do stuff to kind of, keep me on my toes and interact and freshen things up a little bit every now and then. But, just to sing, to get paid sometimes, if the taxman's listening, to perform songs that I'd be listening to on my radio, on my iPod, on whatever it be, that's a real blessing. I'm super, super lucky for that.
Yeah, true. And have you got a personal favourite song? Not necessarily one that you sing, but just in general.
Yeah, Come Undone.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, it's classic.
Just, it's just something, I suppose, that time of my life, just kind of, was that October, November 2002, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just as I was starting to go full time into Robbie mode, I was having, deep issues with my dad and stuff like that. Everything's good now, it's a happy ending. But at that time, and then, when you see the video, and I think I'm told that it is a song that he wrote for Pete, but the video itself, the whole story, I think anybody who's kind of been on a bit of a binge, let's say, can relate to that song and that video. But singing it, I kind of do the version where we go into With or Without You, or with a band like Take a Walk on the Wild Side, With or Without You, and they're like two of my favourite songs mashed together.
Yeah.
I could just sing that, go round and round on that chorus all day. I just absolutely, yet again, just never get ever bored of it.
That's lucky.
Yeah, it's lucky. You know, thank God I'm not Ollie Murs.
I won't have Ollie slagged off.
No. Listen, Ollie's brilliant. I've done a couple of jobs with him. I'm only saying that, obviously, tongue in cheek, because he's like the young pretender in each of Robbie's crown. As people say, but
Lucy's a big Ollie fan, just in case.
No, he's good. You kind of see that Ollie kind of idolises Robbie, and you know, being lucky enough to tour with him, he kind of, you know, he's a good example. You know, he's a good influence to see for that working ethic. I know that people who've like been his creative on Take the Crown and stuff just said he came in every rehearsal and just blasted 2 hours, Robbie. It'll give you 2 hours hard graft every single rehearsal, you know, and just to have that working ethic. You see some people who just turn up when they want and do whatever, and that reflects, you know, Robbie is, you know, is his biggest critic himself. And I think you can see that, you know, he's very self-damning. And, you know, I think that we all are in this kind of industry. Anybody who wants to be better anyway. And, you know, I think he is very, you know, adhered to the longevity. He's a great example for anybody looking up thinking that's how you do it. You know, he's done a lot of stuff wrong, but he's done so much stuff right.
Yeah.
So do you have this is going to be a challenging question or may not be, I don't know, but do you have a best memory or moment that you want to tell us about? Maybe you've got more than one, I don't know.
Well, I think any time, you know, when we met him, has always been good fun.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the first time was a bit like, that's Robbie Williams. The second time was a bit more tongue-in-cheek with Anton Deck. And that was like, you know, just find him as a character quite intriguing. He's always seems to, he's, you know, when we spoke to him, he's always kind of asking me how he's doing. You know, it's just like, hang on a minute. He's a fucking megastar here. You know, but I think that kind of typifies his insecurities. He's all, you know, he wants to do well and he wants to kind of be the best he can be. But yeah, I think as a favourite, I suppose you can put it into different segments. I suppose Nebworth is always going to be. I was there on the Sunday. We were, you know, we went down straight after the gig on the Saturday, me and my mates in a white van, and the white van had just come back from the booze run from France. So we camped out, we went straight for lunch, then breakfast kind of thing, then went to Nebworth, and man, that just, the sun was shining, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you what, it's happened twice that. I was speaking about the Royal Court. Chris, who took me to the Royal Court, because they were Take That fans, and obviously quite younger audiences then, this little girl couldn't see. I remember my mate, he offered to pick her up. This is the Royal Court in 97, this. And he kind of got lumbered, like holding this little girl for the duration of the gig. You know what I mean? He's like, it's... you know, and the same happened to my mate Wilkes on at Nebworth. He offered, a girl couldn't see. We had pretty good, you know, seats a bit further back, and it was like a full festival day, wasn't it? You know, with the Darkness and Moby and Ash and Kelly Osbourne.
Yeah.
And he offered to kind of put this girl on his shoulders. And like 2 hours later, he's still got this girl on his shoulders.
Oh my God.
And he's just like, fucking hell. You know what I mean? And it just, so I suppose a lot of stuff you see with the Robbie kind of environment relates to moments like that. And the moments that I've shared with people, and I see that in people who come to my gigs and the friends because they've met at a Robbie gig. You know, I've had people who've met at my gigs and then kind of got married and booked us for their weddings. So, you know, it's on such a smaller scale. So there's all kind of different memories that kind of tick different little boxes, whether it be one-on-one with Robbie, whether it be with friends doing something, whether it be listening to a song that's happening at a certain time, whether, you know, just, we've been really, really lucky. Just, I can't kind of emphasise that enough.
Yeah. And so you have met Robbie quite a few times, haven't you? As you say, you were on telly with him once on Anton Deck.
Yeah, well, that didn't make the cut. because I think there was that many expletives on it. So I mean, the first time I met Robbie was at Channel 4, and that was with Vernon. Vernon's like a local lad. He's a friend of a friend. And he, you know, he's such a good, I'm saying Vernon K, like there's not many Vernons knocking about.
No, yeah.
So we kind of, well, that kind of links to the second meeting actually. So bear with me. So we go down to Channel 4. The traffic's shocking. Mm-hmm. So I get in there and Vernon says, Robbie's in here. So I said, I've been in the car for 7 hours. I really, really need a wee. Can I go? So I go down to the toilet in the Channel 4 studios, and then like walk past this guy in the vest and jeans, like tattooed, and he's just in the door frame, just like limbering up. I know this is not a great visual for the podcast, and he just looked at me and went, "All right, mate," and I just went, "All right, mate," and then I went and had a wee, and I was like, "Fucking, that was Robbie Williams," you know. I was just like, and had a very, very strange week. And then come back, and he was then chatting to Vern about football the night before. And I didn't want to come and butt in, and, you know, I was like, and like David was with him at the time, bless him. And I could see him kind of being very kind of, not edgy, but a bit aware of me around him. So they'd kind of then go into the live, and then they do the, I think he was pushing radio at the time.
Right.
And he'd just had a part in the Cole Porter film. So they were pushing that as well. So Vern and June were kind of running the interview real time. And in one of the breaks, he just said, "Will you just say hello to my mate, Tony?" And he went, "Hi, Tony." And at the time, he had like a big mohawk. Again, great visual for the podcast. And Robbie had just had his hair cut short, and he just kind of, "Hey, Tony, can I have my hair back?" And I went, "Oh, no, man, it's better than that." You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. He went back into the interview. Anyway, so then Vern just gives him a little bit of a whisper, and he kind of went, "Oh, does he now?" And I was like, "Oh, shit, this is going to go off. He's going to kick me out here." You know, so at the end of the interview, Robbie comes over and says, "Hey, Vern's just said what you do." And I said, "Yeah, I'm a plumber." And he said, You do me in Blackpool?" I said, "Yeah, is that all right?" He went, "Oh, I'm fucking flattered, man." He said, "Are you doing loads of fucking?" I just kind of went,
That's brilliant.
You know.
I love the fact it's his first question.
You know. Yeah. And then we spoke, and then he said, "Listen, are you coming over to sing with us this afternoon?" And I was like, I had to go back to work. The guy wouldn't give me the night off from the show in Blackpool. I couldn't believe it. You know, this random kind of Tuesday, I think it was. And I said, "Mate," I said, "I've got to go and work tonight." He went, "Fucking hell, it's hard work being me, innit?" And I was just like, yeah, you know, so, and it kind of, then, you know, I just spoke about football. He signed a book for my mum, whose birthday it was, and, you know, left it at that. And, you know, from meeting him yourself, it just kind of, you know, it just kind of warms you. And then, you know, we got the picture, you know, he was fine, it was cool. He was like, "You know, you're a big lad, aren't you?" You know, I am quite a broad guy. He's like, "You're a big lad, aren't you?" You know, just like, "All right, mate, easy on this." And so then when I then got the job for Anton Deck a few years ago, which would have been, I think, 2016, because it was a few weeks after the Troxy, the Lifetime Achievement break. Was that about right?
2016, yeah. Yeah.
So Anton Deck kind of booked me to prank him on the prank. And we're just like, you know, so him and Ida are pranking party planners at this pub in Shepherd's Bush that they've taken over the pub. They're having a launch night. They want the party planner, you know, all the pumps are like, you know, whatever, let me entertain you, draft or what have you. The guest list is, you can have one of the cheeky girls, but not one of the other cheeky girls. You can have the cast of Coronation Street, but not EastEnders, and, you know, but no Gary Barlow, definitely no Gary Barlow, you know, and because you've got Anton Deck, I'm sat with Anton Deck in the van, and I'm also in the ear, you know, so you can hear what they're saying to Robbie. You can see Anton Deck just cracking up. You know, what you see is what you get with them.
Yeah.
You know, and then we just kind of, they sent me then in as a delivery driver. So I kind of go in and I'm like, delivery for Mr. Williams, and like pull this thing down, and Robbie's just like looking and just went, what the fuck is going on here? And then Ida's looking and going, what's going on here? Then the guy the party planner who they're pranking is going, what's going on here? And then you can hear Ant and Dec pissing themselves in the ears. You know what I mean? They're just laughing and they're going, yeah, so now just go and stand at the bar and ask for a glass of water. So I'm going, yeah, Rob, any chance for a glass of water, mate? And he's going, yeah. And then, any chance for another glass of water? And, you can hear Ant and Dec just laughing about it. And then when you see it, and it's just, everybody's just kind of going, what is going on here? And then they go into the back, they do the reveal, Ant and Dec pop out. And then Robbie comes storming through the front of the pub, and he's going, where's that bastard? Where's that bastard? And he's like, he's going, you're Tony Lewis, right? You're Tony Lewis. You do me, don't you? You do me. And I'm like, yeah, man. He's going, and he give me an hug. He's like, how you doing? And then we spoke about the Everett Entertainment Show, and he was asking about my favourite songs from the art. Then speaking about the Troxy, and he was like, which one was the Troxy? And I was like, that Lifetime Achievement thing you got. Yeah. Which, kind of sees what kind of headspace he's in at times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just, he was just so good. And then we've done a couple of interviews with him, and then he's kind of give us a bit of a shout out. He turned up to a gig in Ibiza that I do in Santa Eulalia, and he got the wrong night. So
oh my God.
And he said it on one of his Instagram lives. People were like, you need to get on Instagram Live. He's just speaking about turning up to your gig and he got the wrong night. So when, I suppose that's like one question I'd ask him is that, if he'd walked into one of my gigs, I would have just been like, what?
Yeah, that would have been weird.
So I'd like to know who would stop him in his tracks if they walked into one of his gigs. I think that'd be a good
great question.
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the worst thing about being a Robbie tribute artist?
I suppose it's that there's that guy who thinks he's Robbie Williams.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just some people don't see past that. And it's like, some people, people think they need to say the full sentence, don't they? They come to a gig and, I think because we are Robbie fans and as a collective, I think that people listening to this are obviously Robbie fans.
Yeah.
If you're not a Robbie fan and listen to this, then you're a little bit weird.
Yes.
Or you're from the sun. But less
just,
said about that, the better.
We don't mention that pipe around there. And we just kind of, you think that people just love him. And I've got mates who are big Oasis fans, and they kind of, I suppose a little bit like we did, like naively, you kind of didn't like Gary because Robbie didn't like Gary, and people don't like Robbie because Liam and Noel didn't like him.
Yeah. And,
they don't, it's just people kind of come up to you and say, I'm not a Robbie fan, but I thought that was great. Now, am I supposed to take that? Does that mean it's nothing like Robbie's show? Did it mean that I'm more likeable than Robbie? Do you think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just, there is that. And there's obviously the stuff that Robbie can do that I can't do in the set wise, like when he did the Close Encounters and opened up to radio. If I opened up to radio, I'd probably go down like a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just, but there's so much things I can do every day wise. I can walk to the shop, I can go and sit in a coffee shop, I can go and, go to the pub with my mates. Robbie can't really do that.
Yeah.
And I think I've got a really nice balance of life. I just, we get some little perks here and there. Obviously, financially, we're nowhere near the millions and millions that Robbie's got, but that's just money, you know what I mean? It's like about having enough. It's not like having that financial reward from it. The satisfaction I get from going out entertaining, singing the songs that I love, as we spoke about, that kind of gives me enough. I've never kind of wanted to be anything more. I've never really wanted to be famous. We've dabbled with TV and been offered certain things, and I suppose I've got too many skeletons for a start. But just one of them things. Just, I suppose it's like any kind of walk of life or job. There's pros and there's cons, but I know that the good totally outweighs the bad with being Robbie.
Yeah.
So long may that continue as well.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a rewind podcast, so we're looking back, but I'm quite interested in what you would like to see Robbie doing next or in the future, or what might be your thoughts around his next moves.
I just want him to kind of be all right. I suppose as a fan, first and foremost, seeing Robbie struggle with things a lot for that first 10, 15 years. Yeah. For him now to be in a place of contentment and happiness, and that's what we think. Listen, things behind closed doors might be very different, but I think on the surface of it, he's a lot happier as a dad and as a husband, and as a performer now, he's quite accepting of his role within the entertainment business and show business. I think that there was a time when he wanted to be a rock and roller, when he wanted to break America, when he wanted to do all these things, but like accepting, like he says, accepting the things you cannot change is just... Musically, I'd like him to go back old school. I'd like him, because selfishly, I want songs that I can perform on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many songs that have been done, that, like I said before, he can do and I can't do.
Right.
But give me another couple of Candies, a Supreme maybe, and an All Before I Die, and I'll be pretty buzzing with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. But answering your first question, as long as Robbie's fit and healthy, that's all that matters.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Should we move on to the album then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Reality Killed the Video Star.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Okay, so released on the 9th of November 2009, over 3 years after Rude Box came out, it hit number 1 in Australia, Austria, Croatia, Netherlands, Germany and Switzerland, and number 2 in the UK, Belgium, Czech Republic, France, Italy and Sweden. It was Rob's first and only album, apart from Live at Nebworth, to not reach the number 1 spot in the UK. It was beaten to number 1 by just 1,500 copies by JLS's debut album.
Bloody JLS.
Yeah. So the album stayed in the top 10 for 7 weeks and the top 40 for 19 weeks. It was released in 3 different formats, a standard 13-track CD, a deluxe edition, and as a digital download. The deluxe featured a behind-the-scenes DVD called Shoot the Video Star, showing behind the scenes of a photo shoot, and the digital download included bonus track Arizona.
Reality Killed the Video Star has sold over 2.3 million copies. It went 3 times platinum in the UK, 2 times in Germany, and platinum in Europe, Australia, Italy, Belgium, Denmark, Switzerland, Austria and France. It was certified gold in Mexico, Netherlands, Sweden, Finland, Poland, Ireland, New Zealand and Hungary. In the UK, it sold 85,000 copies on the first day, 238,000 in the first week, and was the 3rd highest first week sales of 2009 in the UK, behind JLS and Susan Boyle. Oh dear.
I've no Susan Boyle stories, I'm sorry.
No, okay. That's good.
None that I can tell you about anyway.
Oh dear. I'm not sure she's got international, but if any of our international friends are listening, then
she has, I think.
You can look up Susan Boyle. So it would have been number 1 if it had been released pretty much any other week of that year. It's his 8th best-selling album in the UK and 9th worldwide. Oh, what a pain in the arse.
Yeah. Blimmin' JLS.
On the 11th of October, the Songbook CD was given away with the Mail on Sunday, with 12 songs, including live recordings from Slane Castle, Cologne, The Forum and Nebworth, as well as 6 times 30-second clips of tracks from Reality Killed the Video Star.
In his website blog, after charting at number 2 in the UK, Rob wrote, "I called Marvin to talk to the JLS boys and sent my congratulations. They were really chuffed and it made me feel good for them. I was semi-gutted for half an hour because I know how hard everyone's worked, from EMI management to all of you that supported me and bought the record. Then I saw the bigger picture and realised what an amazing week it's been. The album's doing amazingly well all over the world, and I'm very grateful and touched by all the support.
The album was produced by Trevor Horn of the Buggles fame. On BBC Radio 2, Rob said, "Trevor's made some fantastic records. Some of my favourite records, The Lexicon of Love, ABC, The Seal Records, and Frankie Goes to Hollywood, The Dollar Stuff, the list goes on. He manages to put some pretty class stuff together, and I don't know why we haven't thought of working with him before. He has a way of working a record that no one else can."
Throughout promo, Rob joked about how he'd told Trevor he only wanted to work on Fridays and that he'd pop in for a couple of hours to see what had been done and record a few vocals. He said, "It's always felt like a very grown-up process. I've sort of felt a bit redundant in those places."
Chris Heath explained that Rob feels he's done most of his work by this time and that early versions actually sound very much like the finished ones, and he's good at sidestepping the credit. In the end, Rob went into Psalm Studios in Notting Hill nearly every day. He told Radio 1, "We brought the demos, they were great, they were good to go. Then Trevor added 30 to 40% on top of that, and that's a big leap. He's an amazing man and a legendary producer."
Rob told Radio 2, "My mates Danny and Kelvin and Richard and Scott are all from Stoke, and we've basically written this album together. I write with people that I have fun with. This album is written by 5 people that pretty much grew up together and lived 1 mile away from each other most of their lives, and I love the fact that that's what we've done from where we're from. I need to feel that I'm in some kind of band, and I'm in this band with these guys from Stoke."
The title, Reality Killed the Video Star, comes from Rob's song that later appeared on Under the Radar 3, which he'd already written at that point. When they were coming up with ideas for the album title, it seemed ideal, as Video Killed the Radio Star was a big hit for Trevor's former band, the Buggles, in 1979. Rob joked about other titles he'd considered, such as Il Protagonista, Let Me Underwhelm You, Polite Box, and The One Who Done Angels.
Rob explained to Chris Heath one of his motivations for coming back was to redress the false narratives that had blown up in his 3-year absence. "There's a lot of untruths out there and it bothers me. I wish it didn't, but I am a fucking celebrity, emotionally unhinged. Everybody's, don't listen to it, don't feed into it. I do, and it bothers me tremendously. When they say how badly Rudebox did, how badly I did, how desperate I am to be and take that, all of those things, it bothers me. But also, in a weird way, it has given me the petrol to come back and sort it out. It's success, not fame, that is quite addictive. As you know, I am addicted to a lot of things, and as it happens, success is one of them."
Rob told BBC Radio 2, "I thought that my time had been and gone. I really did. Rudebox came out, got panned, didn't do as well as things normally do, and I thought, well, that's been a great run. What a shame. And then it's been unbelievable, the response to this album. Bodies has been my biggest selling single in its first week since Rock DJ."
The album sleeve was photographed by Julian Broad. Rob said, "This was carrying on the Steve McQueen idea. It was in the middle of the California desert somewhere, 100-degree heat, like being in a sauna. But it was a fun day. I got to fanny about on motorbikes, even if I was ill-equipped to ride them the way I was riding them. Give me a toy to play with and I'll be happy."
In 2012, Rob said, "I experimented. I went off down a few comedy cul-de-sacs. My 2 favourite albums are probably Rudebox and Reality Killed the Video Star. I enjoyed the process. It was good fun, and there's songs on there that people wouldn't expect from me. I think there's songs on those 2 albums that I expected from myself when I left Take That. I got to do them. And then I suppose that I've been on the crest of a wave for so long and been massive and probably at one point the biggest pop star in the world. Not my words, the words of Google. And once you're up there, the only thing you can really hear is, 'You're shit.' And you go, 'Yeah, I am. I think you're right. And I'm going to try and be anything other than Robbie Williams.' So I went off and did that, experimented and tried to be anything other than me. And then after Reality Killed the Video Star, I realised, actually, pop's good. Straight up, honest to goodness pop, reaching for the pop charts and the highest echelons therein, that's good."
Rob also later stated that he did not tour Reality Killed the Video Star as he wasn't into it that much and claimed that it was half-arsed. I had intentionally and unintentionally not managed to write a hit. I can take my eye off the ball sometimes and not concentrate. Must do better, as they said at school. Rob explained to Q in 2010 that he had been disappointed to have to break off from working with Take That to promote the album. I was gutted about it, and unfortunately for EMI, disinterested.
Rob won an Outstanding Contribution to Music Award at the Brits in 2010. He said in You Know Me, "It's a good thing to do, and it's an honour to be given the Outstanding Contribution Award, but it's a terrifying place to be in. It was important that I did a good job. Trevor Horn did all the thinking, and God bless him for it. I'd have been mortified if it hadn't." He was also nominated for Best Male Solo Artist as well as for Best Live Performance from the past 30 years at the Brits for his duet with Tom Jones. He won International Male Artist of the Year at the NRJ Awards and received an NRJ Award of Honour. He won the Best International Male at the Echo Awards for the 7th time since 2002, and he was nominated for Best Male at the MTV EMAs.
So what do we think overall of Reality Killed the Video Star as an album?
As an album, you know what? It's one of my least favourite Robbie albums.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Yeah.
But there's a couple of there's 3 standout tunes for me on there that I still love.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that this was a case of, you know, him being a little bit cooler and just kind of, you know, I'm working with Trevor Horn now. And I think he reworked with him, did the Tears for Fears song, didn't he? In the remastered Trevor Horn's
2020,
I
think.
Yeah. A few years ago now, yeah. So obviously it's a relationship that's kind of, you know, still healthy and stuff like that. But I think that it was, you know, and it's like you spoke about Robbie there. He kind of says that he kind of went off a little bit and wanted to do different things. And I think he quoted like comedy cul-de-sacs. It does. And, you know, when you've got that longevity that we keep going on about, there's going to be moments that you kind of hit brick walls or go in a different direction. And, you know, that's such is life.
Yeah.
That's how it is. It doesn't make it a bad album at all. It's not a bad album.
No.
I just don't think it's as strong as some of my favourites. And that's, you know, some people might go, I love this album. And that's totally fine. That's what music's all about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. But I think that they kind of went for a vibe. And I think, you know what's the ironic thing is that musically, this, apart from the swing albums, this was the most orchestral kind of album there was. There was a lot of woodwind, string on there. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just think that there was, you know, and I think that's a massive musical element, probably influenced by Trevor on there. But it's you know, it's that period. I remember I kind of went off the rails when this album was released. So it's, you know, that's kind of what I relate it to as well. But I remember like Body's coming out, and I was like, this is an absolute banger. You know, Body's, You Know Me, is 2 amazing tracks.
Yeah. What do you think, Lucy?
It's just one that I find that I'm not really attached to. Like, there's not, you know, other songs on other albums I have such an attachment to, and I just find that on this album I don't as much, and so I end up not playing it as much as all the others. Yeah. And it's obvious he was just waiting.
Robbie's just said that himself.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
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 You know, that's what he's saying. That I think that I know that's his job being a pop star, but people kind of underestimate. I think you see it a lot with Robbie. You know, he kind of really pushes the first 2 songs on an album. You know, and then he can obviously flying around Europe, maybe not America as much unless he's going home, but kind of doing the promo in Australia. It's, you know, I know it's not 9 to 5 going to the office, going on a building site. I know that firsthand, but it's an exhausting process, you know, being asked the same questions over and over again. Everybody can we have a picture of you, Robbie? Yeah. Can we speak about this album, Robbie?
Smiling, laughing,
you do that 100 times. And yeah, of course. Listen, I don't think you should ever turn down a photograph with anybody. But, there is a process to it that's exhausting. And if you're not kind of feeling it, that he probably wasn't, then, and fair play for him saying that rather than just going bullshitting, this is the greatest, everybody this is the greatest album I've ever done. Well, what, since the last one? Yeah, of course it is. And that's the game. Yeah. That is the game. Let's not make any bones about it. But for him to say that he didn't tour it because he didn't really feel it, I think that we kind of relate to that ourselves in what me and you said, Lucy. Yeah. Matt, this might be your favourite album, Matt.
No, you're all right. I think, though, you mentioned it, Tony, it's like anything in life, particularly in creativity or any kind of creative field. When you're doing something creative, it's never going to be 100% perfect all of the time. It's actually part of the process. And I think people who are in the spotlight get slated way too hard when they do have a little bit of a dip. But I think the dip is needed. The contrast is needed for learning and developing and being more creatively confident when you come out of that and then into something else. And so I think, like you say, Rob does wear his heart on his sleeve most of the time. He was pretty honest about it. And I look at this album and I think, well, like you, there's some great tracks on it, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think actually that Rude Box paved the way for this album in my book. I kind of think about Rude Box, and we've just recorded the episode, and we really like it. And I think there was elements in that, particularly Pet Shop Boys influences. And I think it's there's a real strong tribute to them coming through in this album, So yes, I'm like you, it's not an album I'd play all the time, but I think there's a very clever element to it. The production of it is clever.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go on to the first song?
And I think with Robbie, I think the lyrics are always strong. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think that, when you kind of break down the lyrics, listen, it's never going to be War and Peace with Robbie, but there's some really kind of clever lines in there, and just stuff that you kind of relate to. I think that's one of Robbie's strengths. Everybody kind of grabs hold of a line and, they kind of, what a great thing to have tattooed on your arm or plastered on your living room's wall.
Yeah. So let's go on to the first song, Morning Sun.
Yeah, so written by Rob, Kelvin Andrews, Danny Spencer, Richard Scott, Scott Ralph and Don Black. This was the final single to be released from the album on the 8th of March 2010. It was the first of Rob's singles not to make the top 40 in the UK, reaching 45. Elsewhere, it made 12 in Belgium, 19 in the Netherlands and 32 in Germany.
So Richard Scott Mould is the other brother of Kelvin Andrews Mould and Danny Spencer Mould. We all know Kelvin and Danny, a soul mechanic who have worked with Rob a lot, and their brother Richard was in a duo with his mate Scott Ralph called Daft Dog Productions. Richard and Scott met when Scott played drums at the age of 11 in Richard's funk band while Richard was a teenager. They stayed in touch and worked together 20 years later. They've also worked with Beverly Knight, Lana Del Rey, Engelbert Humperdinck, Take That, and Alvin Stardust. Richard now has his own production company called Dead Good, while Scott works with his brother Mark, but both still write with Rob.
Cool. Don Black is a legendary American composer who's worked on musicals, movies and TV shows. He's worked with Andrew Lloyd Webber, Quincy Jones, and has written many big film soundtracks such as Thunderball, Diamonds Are Forever, and The Man with the Golden Gun with John Barry. Wow. Morning Sun was the official single for the UK charity Sport Relief in 2010. When the Radio Times magazine asked him why, Rob said, "I don't know where the link is between charity and the lyrics of that song, because it doesn't really make that much sense, to be honest. I'm glad it is, but I don't know where it fits in." The interviewer said, "Maybe the overall sentiment and the feel of the lyric is one of uplift and promise and hope for tomorrow." Rob replied, "That's what I said. That's exactly what I said under my breath when you asked the question." I don't know. It's an interesting lyric, an interesting melody. I don't know if the two dovetail very well, but hopefully it's big enough song to do them well. Rob's Give It Some Charity is administered by Comet Relief.
Rob told T4, Morning Sun's a Beatlesque tune, a song that came to me fully formed from Richard and Scott up in Stoke. I needed to change a few of the lyrics to make me understand it, to give it a point of view from where I'm coming from, and I couldn't think of anything to write because their lyrics were brilliant. Then Michael Jackson passed away, and I thought, I've got something to write about now. First time I've done it, but I enlisted the help of legendary lyricist Don Black. We changed some bits and bobs together, and what was left is Morning Sun. When he introduced it at the Electric Proms, he said, I thought it was about Michael Jackson, but it's about me again.
In Reveal, Chris Heath detailed the writing of Morning Sun, explaining how the lyrics took a lot of work. Rob's first breakthrough was realising it could be about depression, and it initially mentioned his religion teacher, Mr. McCarran. He continued to work on the lyrics with Don Black, but was still unsure about them. Then when Michael Jackson died, it hit Rob about prescription medication and how close he must have been to being in the same position. He felt sad for Michael about where his life had taken him. Then he thought about himself on tours, knowing what he'd been through, knowing that he didn't really want to do them. I just pictured him awake, not being able to sleep because of the opiates. Then I understood what the song was about.
Rob and Don worked on it more to bring this into focus. Rob said, it's about don't do drugs. I think the last verse is just about the bollocks of show business, about how you think it means this when you go into it, and it doesn't at all. And the further and further you go down the tracks into your career, the less it all means. Also, spending a bit of time on the planet, notching up a few years between the start of my career and now, it's kind of me looking back and gone, fucking hell, where did all that time go? What happened? I still feel 23. Nothing's changed. Everything's changed. It's confusing. So there we go. What do we think of Morning Sun? Matt, would you like to go first on this one?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sad. That was a sad bit to read out.
How do you rate the Morning Sun?
True.
I like a bit of Morning Sun. Yeah. I like the beginning of it. You know, you got the birds singing, the dawn chorus, the harmonica kind of playing, fading in, and then the strings and the piano layer in. It really does give you that kind of, the sun's shining even as I'm talking about this and I'm looking out. It's giving me a bit of a tingle. It's nice. But yeah, it's tragic at the same time. So I was looking at the lyrics, in a message to the troubadour, and I was like, what the hell is a troubadour? I think I might have learned about that at school. Apparently it's a French medieval lyric poet composing and singing in the 11th or 13th centuries, particularly on the theme of courtly love, or more simply put, a poet who writes verse music.
I think Rod Stewart uses the troubadour reference a little bit as well. I think there's a
maybe
song
that's where Rob heard it.
Yeah,
right.
And
I think it makes sense because it is very
totally wrong on that.
No, I think you're right. I think it's very poetic and clever. So the poetic sort of link there makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'd love the line, "The morning brings a mystery, the evening makes it history."
Yeah.
Really like that. It's just something really profound about that. Not quite sure why there's a village drunk in the song.
I think that must be the show business's the bollocks of show business bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tony? Is that the village drunk?
I think I didn't know whether that was Robbie kind of getting sober.
Right.
Yeah.
That could easily be him.
Yeah.
The drunk passing away with him.
Yeah.
You never know, and how it is and goes on about depression and stuff, obviously stuff that Robbie's had to deal with, that it might be something that is kind of him killing off that drunk person. Listen, if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you're always an alcoholic or a drug addict. You suddenly don't go, I'm not that anymore.
Right.
You're an addict, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, what I found really interesting is that when you've just said about, I've not wanted to do too much research because that's Lucy's job.
It is.
But do you know the start of the song is very much like a Bond song,
Yeah.
It reminds me of Skyfall, the start of Skyfall, and the orchestra starts and stuff like that. And then it kind of goes into the song. But I mean, I know that Robbie really wanted Starstruck as a third single, didn't he, off this album?
Yeah.
I think that, it was kind of a strange song to kind of release for sport relief as well.
Yeah.
And like we said, when you push 2 songs like he did with Bodies and You Know Me, as will be coming up, then I think that this kind of got lost on the promo line, and it was just like, well, it's done. I'll just let Sport Relief take care of it.
And also because people already had the album and it's download era, they weren't really bothering to go and buy the single.
Yeah.
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 This was probably that age, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where kind of, this was,
The
once you
start
had the
of
track, you had the track.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No B-sides and all
Unfortunately.
that to buy.
No.
Yeah.
No, the end of an era.
Yeah.
Well, and into another one.
I do wonder whether this had been the second single instead of You Know Me, whether it would have done better. Because I think it is an amazing song, and I feel like it was a crime that it didn't chart, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love this
Under
song.
the radar, see.
Yes.
Why
Like
do
this one.
why do you love it?
Well, I love the beginning as well, like you do.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect opener, and I think it shows how he's moved on from Rude Box. To any fans worried after Rude Box, listening to the opening track would think, "Oh, it's okay. Old Robbie's back. I like this album because it's not, for the fans that didn't like Rude Box. I mean, they might feel safe and think, oh, actually, maybe this album's going to be okay."
I think that people underestimate, kind of actually building an album and choosing the track listing and choosing the order.
Yeah.
I know that, when you're in with like a boy band, I suppose that, let's go back to the Take That thing, for argument's sake, the discussion that song should go there, that's a discussion that they have in depth.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big thing. And I think that with this album, like, we were used to kind of the first 3 albums with Robbie kind of putting the little quips on at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As everybody, I might as well say it scared the shit out of me being in the bath, and then Elle also remember me popping up and going, what's that? Just as everybody's kind of said on this podcast, I think that with this and then kind of going into the reprise of Morning Sun, I really like the reprise at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's just that harmonica and just it's just a beautiful piece of music when you strip it down.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And I said to Lucy when we were preparing for this, Bodies should have been on the first on the album. But actually, Lucy reminded me that probably really wouldn't have worked. Maybe for the reason that you've just said, because it tops and tails the whole album and really works. And Bodies might have been a bit scary to be the first one on the album for some. I don't know,
people who wanted the ballad type Robbie back.
I think the order does work. You're right, Tony. A lot of thought and consideration has been gone in from multiple different people about the order of the albums, the tracks on the album. Sorry,
I think it shows kind of a musical maturity. That he kind of, instead of just being that cheeky chappy, I'll just put a little bit of a quip in at the end or a little bit of a snide dig at me teacher or what have you. It was actually a musical break that was opening and closing the full album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was quite cool and quite mature.
Yeah.
And maybe even though it's not the album we kind of envisaged or wanted or, you know what I mean? But it's part of his history that, kind of opened the door to a more mature Robbie.
Yeah, it did. It is a very sad song though, isn't it? With the whole Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah.
And when you listen to it and think about Rob, things like, and you could happen to me because I've been close to where you are. That's horrible, isn't it, to think about that?
Yep.
Do you see those stars from where you are shine on the lost and loneliest, the ones who can't get over it? I wondered whether that was kind of the fans that are left without Michael Jackson, looking up into the sky, hoping to see Michael.
I really like the lyric, how many stars would you give to the moon?
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful lyric.
It is.
Yeah.
Because, whether it be, astronomically or review wise, that kind of.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Clever.
a really clever lyric.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Like it.
I remember the night Michael Jackson died, I had a muscle spasm in my neck and I literally couldn't lie down and I couldn't sit up. I was just literally awake all night in agony until I could call the doctors. And so I just sat and watched the news about Michael Jackson being dead and cried because I was just in so much pain and there's just horrible news on the. Oh yeah, it wasn't. It's in my head.
And we had tickets to go and see him live.
Yeah, which never happened.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing things on an apartment floor, and my girlfriend should have been, well, my wife now, she should have been doing the opening for This Is It. She should have been doing the grand opening, dancing on it. So she got the message to say, this isn't happening now because Michael Jackson's passed away. Just like, wow.
Yeah. Awful, isn't it?
You know, so I think that's one of the moments that we all kind of know where you were when you found out. Imagine like when people found out that Leonard had been shot or Elvis had died. You know, it's one of them monumental. I think that's, you know, we speak about Rob being like a star, but then, you know, just Jackson was just
oh god,
level,
yeah. Totally. I mean, they're different artists, but you can imagine how much it must have hit Rob, especially around, you know, he mentions the prescription drugs. We won't go too deeply into that, but you can imagine the parallels that he saw there in terms of, you know, okay, I'm in a different phase of addiction, but this happened to Michael Jackson. You know, that must have really hit hard. Yeah.
After he joked about, like, in Good Doctor on Rude Box, the album before, about kind of being quite fun, taking a piss out of prescription drugs, you know?
Yeah.
There's probably a little bit of guilt there on that as well.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the video?
So, yeah, the video was directed by our favourite Vaughan Arnell. Rob said in You Know Me, that suit was worn in the film Space Cowboys, where all the old guys go up as astronauts. It felt great in there. There's something about being cocooned in one of those helmets that feels very safe. It was filmed at Universal Studios Hollywood and on the International Space Station.
Oh, well, sorry, he's meant to be on the International Space Station.
You know, he's supposed to be in the International Space Station. There are scenes, there is footage from it, but obviously he didn't go up.
No.
It's taking a role extremely serious.
Yeah. But my overall memory of this video is our then 2-year-old son, who was obsessed with the moon at that age, wanting to watch the opening to this video on YouTube over and over again, just the opening. So I think they've actually cut what's on YouTube now because I can't find it. But there used to be a really long intro where it was just stars and moon and sun and stuff. I can't quite remember before it kicked into the actual video. So he just wanted to keep watching that bit over and over again, but I can't find it. So if anyone has a copy of the original longer version, then please send it to me because I would like to see it again. Yeah, but it's a good video. I think he looks good in it in the suit.
Well, you know, that sunlight just going into them green eyes of his. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me and Matt. It kind of, you know, it kind of reminded me of a condensed version of kind of Supreme, funnily enough. You know, where he's playing a character, but the kind of merging it with footage that's obviously not part of the video of the launch and stuff like that. But you know, what I mean, I think it's a nice watch. Yeah, definitely. I don't think, you know, and it's funny, like he said, like putting that suit on kind of gives you a little bit of power.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried an Elvis Presley suit on? Have you ever put an Elvis Presley suit on?
Nope.
I don't suppose you have you?
I'm guessing you have.
I was backstage. Yeah. And I put I put this Elvis like jumpsuit on, like a proper, it wasn't one of Elvis's, but like one of the Elvis Presley I was working. I just felt like God. You know what I mean? I put it on. It just felt like armor. I was like, yeah, I'm Elvis. You know what I mean? So I think that when you kind of put a costume on, sometimes you kind of go, you know, this is, you know, you kind of, and I suppose for Rob as well, being behind that kind of blanket, it just gives you that little bit of safety.
Yeah. Beautifully shot, wasn't it? Yeah, as you say, with his green eyes.
Yeah.
Well, him and also the space shots of the space station. I mean, you know, seeing the sun from space, seeing Earth from space must be quite a surreal experience. You know, they talk about when astronauts go up to space, they get this thing called the overview effect, where they just have this most profound like pause, where they just like look back on Earth and just like, wow, you know, they come back kind of different. So I think that links into the song as well. You know, it's that profound experience.
Yeah.
I find it quite bizarre, you know, Matt just says to see that kind of view from there. I love a sunset, whether it be from the top of the hill behind my house, or whether my favourite's like, the Ibiza one. But, wherever you are in the world, to see like the sunset on a beautiful day is like, it's pretty inspiring. So to see it up there.
Yeah, must be incredible.
I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon, no.
No, same.
No, you're not going to go up with Richard Branson, no. Or Bezos.
No.
Or any of the other billionaires that are flying people like that.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
So, should we talk about Bodies?
Yeah.
Written by Rob, Craig Russo and Brandon Christie. It was the first single to be released off Reality Killed the Video Star on the 12th of October 2009. It reached number 2 in the UK, was held off the number 1 spot by Alexandra Burke's Bad Boys. It hit number 1 in Austria, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Slovakia and Switzerland. It was number 2 in Denmark, Belgium, Czech Republic, Denmark and Finland. It was the 16th best-selling song of 2009 in Germany and named one of the best songs of 2009 by music website Pop Justice. It was certified silver in the UK, selling 89,000 copies in its first week, Rob's highest first week sale since Rock DJ. It went platinum in Italy and Switzerland, gold in Australia and Germany.
Bodies was initially written by Brandon and Craig in 2006 before Rob went on tour. They planned to get back together after the tour to finish it with Rob. Rob never thought it would be a single, hence why he shared a snippet of it online in 2007. Trevor Horn said, "Bodies was a rank outsider. Initially, we were definitely not considering it as the first single, but I tried changing from electronic instruments to real instruments, and it suddenly blew everyone's heads off, and Robbie loved it."
Rob told T4, "I only put Bodies on the album because Ida liked it. She loves this song. She said, you've got to go with that one, but it's a bit off, and the lyrics and the verses used to say something completely different that would have been very weird for people to hear, and they would have gone, yeah, he's definitely gone mad, about conspiracy theories and all this business. So I changed some of the lyrics. Then Trevor sprinkled some fairy dust on it."
He told Radio 2, "You know gibberish? That's it. Okay, here's what happened. Spent a lot of time on the internet researching a lot of conspiracies. I watched this documentary called Zeitgeist and the God That Wasn't There. And it's talking about Christianity, the template to Christianity, born to a virgin, goes off with his mates, does some magic stuff, dies, then is resurrected. The template has been used before, Jesus. It's been used several times, but the person wasn't called Jesus. It gave me a new perspective on religion. On that day, I'd seen a documentary and thought Jesus might not have died for me. I was with a mate in his room in California, and we were just having a laugh and knocking a tune together. It was just how I was feeling that day and what I'd been receiving that day via the internet. I'm an atheist that gets down on my knees as soon as something bad happens."
A year later, he told Q magazine, "A great track, but the lyrics are fucking gibberish. You look at them and go, stop watching documentaries, you knob." Who knows what I was going on about? I was fucking stoned. The edge had gone. When suddenly you're not on top of the wave anymore and the imperial phase is over, you panic. You're left to compromise, basically. Reality Killed the Video Star was schizophrenic. It was like, I'll put Morning Sun on it because I know the fans will like that kind of thing.
Rob said in the 2011 blog that the Bodhi Tree was his favourite bookstore where you find all the truths of the universe. It was on Melrose Avenue in West Hollywood but closed in 2011 and went online. Rob gave his first performance after 3 years live on the X Factor on 11th of October, singing Bodies. Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan. As he was about to go on, Ollie Murs' dad joked, "Don't forget the words," which unnerved him and made him think he would forget them. That was nice of him. Then the screen was supposed to open to reveal him, but didn't. So Rob opened it by hand, which broke his composure. He said, "I had this whole pose planned, and that went out the window. There was an outpouring of love, and then I just didn't think I was enough. So I tried to go too big. I felt I had a whole concert in 3.5 minutes. I was just doing an impression of what I used to do. I felt as though it had left me. The language, the binary code of projecting charisma had gone.
The newspapers the next day insinuated he was high, and most reviews and articles then started with, "After that disastrous performance on X Factor." He didn't know it had been that bad until he started being asked about it by journalists. He said, "I thought I was crazy. I'd just been on the TV and embarrassed myself in front of the world, it seemed, and my worst fears were true. I'd forgotten how to do it, which instantly made me want to back away from doing any of the promo that was coming up. I'm back, I'm still ill, and the mask that I use is broken. My self-loathing's enough without anyone else joining in."
Chris Heath explained how Rob told his management he wanted to cancel everything. "I just felt so overwhelmed with everything and so sort of powerless and energyless and scared. It all felt a bit futile." But he relented, saying, "There was still some part of me that didn't want to fuck up completely for myself. So he went ahead with the promo. But when he looks back, it's with the sense that he never gave Reality Killed the Video Star the chance it deserved. I wanted to be in Take That, or at least I didn't want to be Robbie Williams. I didn't know how to do it. Getting back on stage, it just felt weird and clumpy, and I didn't know what I was doing. It took me years, especially on stage, to adjust back. I got back on the bike, and the bike felt a bit wobbly. It took me a long time to make the bike function again. I think I've been terrified of stopping ever since."
Wow, so quite some stories there. But should we talk about Bodies?
What do you think, Tony? Bodies.
You know what? I absolutely love this song.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably no consolation to Robbie, but I fucked this up more than once as well. So because it's not your standard intro, there's, and it's kind of very loopish, and it's, there's kind of a beat to it that kind of comes in, that electro beat, and I've kind of, not the first time in my life that I've been premature on things. I've come in this, but that kind of dun, 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 dun. I love this song.
Yeah.
I love the video as well. It will obviously speak about.
Yeah.
But I remember this song coming out, and like there are songs that get brought out, and you just kind of go, I just can't put this in the set. You know what I mean? Like I said, selfishly, I always look at a Robbie song, and can go, can I do that?
Yeah.
And then you go, yeah, I can do that. So you'll get the track made, or then you'll go to the guy and say, I need to do this with the band. So you'll get the dots and the clicks done, stuff like that. So that was, as soon as I heard this song, I was like, I need to get this in the set straight away. It's not something I kind of put in a lot now, unless it's kind of a Robbie hardcore crowd.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think this is an absolute banger of a tune. It is kind of gibberish. It's nice. When you kind of break down the lyrics, you just kind of, just when you're writing songs, sometimes you've got to make one thing fit with another, and that's just how it comes out.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of science in it. There is like a structure to songwriting, usually as a standard. Just ask Ed Sheeran. That's why he's the biggest artist in the world right now, because he's got a songwriting formula that works and relates to everybody, kind of chord patterns and stuff like that. But this is a very different song. Like you said, it's interesting they used this to launch the album, but then you thought that it should have been opening the album, Matt. But I can see why it was a great launch property for the album, but then it didn't open the album. It would have probably scared people off a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think that. I think from even as a second tune, you've got a strong song coming after it, but then obviously you take a dip, and that's, when we speak about the song ordering and the lineup of the tunes on the album, it's a massive tune. This,
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's really funky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it. And I think Trevor did an amazing job on it. Whatever he did to it, however he changed it, it's just, it's made it epic, basically.
Yeah.
And I love how on the chorus, every time he says bodies, that they have the backing vocalists saying it. It just really accentuates it. It just sounds amazing. I'd love him to sing this live again. Well, he did, didn't he, in Take the Crown? I think he sang it on Take the Crown tour, didn't he? And I find it, obviously, the bodies on my body and bodies, what's it, the lyric? I can't remember. Anyway, it's basically, it's like Buddha, procreation, pregnancy, old age and death.
Ah.
Isn't it? Bodies on my
So the whole cycle
bodies
of
in the
life.
cemetery. The cycle of life, yeah.
What a week.
Well, I like the fact that he brings us more sunshine into this song. God gave me the sunshine, you know? We're talking about the sun again.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mashup of different styles, the music in this, isn't it? You know, you've got orchestral, you've got the electro, you've got synth, the different types.
Yeah. It's got everything.
It shouldn't work, but it does work. You know, it's just clever masterpiece of production, I think.
And one of my other favourite lines, all we've ever wanted is to look good naked, hope that someone can take it. God save me rejection for my reflection. Everyone feels like that, so it's just amazing to actually put it in a lyric.
Yeah, it's yet again, just that, cheeky chappy lyric and just, kind of saying something that we all kind of feel and can relate to once again, classic Robbie.
Exactly. And then I was told it was all mine, then I got laid on the ley line.
Yeah.
So I looked up what a ley line was.
Yeah.
Because I thought he said at some point it was something to do with an American football pitch, but...
He might well have done.
But
see if someone believed him.
But apparently it's a straight line connecting three or more...
Anything to tap into the American market.
Yeah. Connecting three or more prehistoric or ancient sites.
Yeah, it's very mystical, ley lines.
So, yeah, it's probably more to do with that side of things, isn't it? But I'd have to say...
I think it's more to do with the gibberish side of things.
Yeah, it just
probably.
worked.
I don't like it when he says I got raped on the ley line, though, when he sings it live sometimes. Not really sure. That should be a throwaway comment. Yeah.
Bit over the line.
Yeah.
Over the ley line.
I draw the line there, yeah.
Any more line gags? No.
But one of my favourite memories is at that time I actually went and stood outside Radio 1 when he went to premiere this single on the 4th of September because Matt's cousin was getting married literally a few streets away.
That's right.
And so me and Matt's brother's wife went up early and stood outside Radio 1. But we got there just as he was arriving, so we kind of weren't very close. But it was crazy because it was just mental. All these photographers and, I don't know, people recording him on video and all the autograph hunters. It was just mental out there. But it was fun. It was nice to see him because obviously I hadn't seen him for 3 years with my own eyes at that point. So it was just nice.
Did you realise how crazy that sounds?
I know.
That you went and stood outside a building to watch somebody walk into a building.
I know, it is, isn't it?
And that's what I love, and I love that about, going off track on, about like the Robbie fans. And obviously, we kind of are in contact with a lot of them and we have a good relationship with them and they support us. I know that the tribute market isn't for everybody. I know people will be saying that there's only one Robbie Williams. Well, there's not. There's lots of them, but there's only one Robert Peter Williams.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but it's just, man, the queuing scenario, just camping out, just to be that barrier crew, but that's everybody's entitled to do that.
Yeah.
For me, kind of going to a Robbie gig is a very different experience. I'd probably just stand at the bar at the side or the back or something like that and, take it all in, especially the smaller venues, which is quite enjoyable for us. But, I kind of, being a big football fan, people go to United, like go to football matches every single week, home and away, and they put that, they kind of go, you're really nuts doing that. But football fans do it, 38 times a season.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's comparable. And when you do it like that, but it does baffle me that some people kind of go and stand in the freezing rain, getting piss wet through to go, I saw Robbie walking in Radio 1. And it just,
I know.
I'm non-judgmental on that. I just find it a bit nuts.
Yeah, it is a bit nuts. You're right, and it's not something I don't think I've really done since. But yeah, it was. I just had. We were, my parents had Luke at that point because we were at a wedding, and I was like, wow, I've just got to go.
Yeah, I'm just going to nip out of the wedding.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm watching him walk in that building. All right, yeah, okay. Do you, Lucy, take Matt? Hang on a minute, where's Lucy gone here? Oh, she's fucked off watching Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Yes. You did say that.
Anyway, back to Bodies.
You did say that in our wedding speech, didn't you?
Bodies. Yes, I did. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Bodhi tree. We talked about the Bodhi tree, and I was like, "Oh, what's a Bodhi tree?" And Bodhi tree is a very large, very old sacred fig tree, and it was at this temple in Bodha Gaya somewhere, and it was basically a tree that a spiritual teacher and the founder of Buddhism used to sit under, and apparently he achieved spiritual enlightenment while sitting under that tree. So, but obviously Rob got it from the bookshop in
Well, so he says. Maybe that was a joke.
But it works. And apparently it's easily recognised because it's got heart-shaped leaves.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
Another useless fact from Matt there.
But yeah, it's an incredible song, Bodies. I love it.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the video?
Yeah. So the video was directed by Vaughan Arnell and was filmed in the Mojave Desert and featured Ida. Rob said, "It felt really strange dancing on the wing of a plane at the end of the video. I didn't realise it was going to feel so weird. I was trying to remember what I used to do. People say it's like riding a bike. It wasn't."
I'd like to know how Ida felt being driven by Robbie in that. I don't know, what were they in?
It's like a dune buggy type thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Like knowing that he doesn't have a driving licence, and it didn't look like they had any seatbelts on. How safe did she feel?
They're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, but he could still turn it over.
Yeah.
See, I think the other thing, why would you take your wife to work? But you can tell me that.
Well, she wasn't his wife then; she was still his girlfriend. So.
No, yeah, but yeah, I think I didn't realise it was Ida until I watched it. I was like, "That's Ida," because I don't sit down and watch the videos anymore.
Yeah.
I just listen to the songs, and when I watched the video, I was like, "That's Ida." You know what I mean? It was like quite weird.
Yeah, but it was nice.
I think
nice,
did they get married soon after? Didn't they get married?
Yeah, 2010. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always nice to go. Yeah. Yeah. At first I thought, well, maybe he's kind of gone, yeah, just come with me. I'll put you in my music video. Like you do to show off, but obviously they were kind of cemented down and getting ready to, take the big leap.
Yeah.
I suppose, I wonder whether somebody went to their wedding, Lucy, and just went, I'm just going to nip off because Jack Nicholson's going for a coffee.
That's true.
I doubt it. Maybe Tom Jones, seeing as he lived next door.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
But yeah, I don't think he looked awkward on the plane wing. He looked normal, fine to me.
We don't know how many takes that took to get that little piece of footage. He could have been there all day doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I picked up on this video is, and like we just said, that he got married the year after this. That one, it goes on about a cemetery, doesn't it? In the tune,
yeah.
It's shot like on
the plane cemetery.
Airplanes
graveyard
cemetery, like graveyard, isn't it? Yeah. And also is that when he's walking with a petrol can, he's like no regrets. When he's pulled over, broke down on the side, he's like Millennium. When he's on the motorbike, he's like Angels. And I didn't know whether that's kind of saying, getting rid of kind of that past and then moving forward with that. When Ida comes and picks him up, then that's progressing into the next stage of his life.
I like that.
I like that analysis. Yeah, I've never seen it like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely different parts of the video, isn't there?
Box.
Definitely moves on from scene to scene.
It makes more sense of it, you saying that, because I thought it was quite bizarre, because I was thinking, he's in this wooden tent, like wooden shelter in the middle of the desert, and then he gets on his scrambling bike, goes for a cruise through the desert like you do. Then there's this great multi-shot aerial scene, and the cinematography is amazing. And then suddenly he just finds a blue dune buggy with a woman in it, or picks her up and gets her in it, and then just starts spinning around in that as well.
The woman of his dreams.
But you've managed to connect it all together now, Tony, so it makes sense. And then they fall madly in love, instantly.
I'm the glue.
They're by the campfire, and, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Oh, and then that random Range Rover arrives at the end.
Oh, yeah. What was that all about?
Don't know.
Is that taking him off to be a pop star again?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
The things you learn on the Robbie Williams Rewind.
Do you know what I also love about that is the look. I love the look of the suit with the chain, with the pocket watch chain.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just that suited him, with the desert boots on the wing of a plane. I think it's a really strong look for him, because it kind of transpires as well from being quite scruffy and going up in the shave in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it is like a bit of Steve McQueenish, isn't it? But,
yeah.
That kind of transformation again, going from that scruffy kind of lad coming out of hibernation where he's been to then kind of going dancing on an aeroplane wing.
Okay, let's talk about You Know Me.
Yeah.
Written by Rob, Danny and Kelvin, it also contains elements of the song Voila, written by Françoise Hardy, a French singer and songwriter, in 1967. This was the second single released on the 4th of December 2009 and hit number 6 in the UK. Rob told T4, "We took a sample off a Françoise Hardy song. My friends are DJs, they know this kind of thing. Originally, it was kind of very hip-hop, with this kind of massive crunching sound in the sample. And of course, it went to Trevor and he went, 'No, we'll do this,' and Rob mimed a violin movement. So originally, that's what it sounded like, and it wasn't too much of a departure from where we were at, doing electronic music. And Trevor's taken it and put more colour into it and made it into a proper big pop song."
He later said, "You know me, where I think I was suffering with the overwordiness, and there was me thinking, I'd done a great lyric. If a man can be his own fantasy, then to only breed in captivity is pointless." That's the first line. Even though it's quite a lyric, sometimes pop just needs to be straightforward. When singing it live on TV shows during this period, he often added a bit of unchained melody at the end. So, You Know Me.
It's definitely
You're going to go first?
Yeah,
go
it's
for
definitely a doo-wop song.
A doo-wop song, yeah.
It's got the doo-wops in the background, hasn't it, in the backing vocals. Personally, I prefer Morning Sun to You Know Me, and I would have preferred this to have been the second single. Yeah.
Ooh.
Controversial.
Ooh.
But I still really like it. I like the chorus the best, and the middle eight where it focuses on Rob's voice and there's like a key change. I like that bit. Since you went away, my heart breaks every day and you don't know because you're not there. I like that line.
Mm-hmm.
And Thunderbird Wine is weird, isn't it? I looked that up. I think you looked it up as well, Matt. I found it said it was a fortified wine.
Have you ever had Did you ever have Thunderbird?
No. Have you? Is it really bad?
And that was like kind of the go-to. You're minging. It's kind of the go-to kind of drink you would take on the park as a 15-year-old.
No, never had that one.
I don't think it was. I don't know. Maybe it was not a southern.
You're so southern.
I think it was. It wasn't a southern thing. I certainly heard about it before.
We had
I'll rephrase
2020.
that. I'm so northern. Yeah, Mad Dog. Yeah. Some good school discos on that. Jesus.
Well, it was. I think it was about 20% alcohol. So, and then it got lowered to 17.5 because they said it was too high. So It sounds a little bit like 2020, which
we used to have 2020.
But that was a bit after that, I think. Yeah. It sounds like a tinny radio at the beginning, obviously purposely, just before it kicks in. So I like that kind of change because it suddenly boom, it comes in.
Yeah.
I may be completely wrong here, but I'm guessing it might be about an ex sometime after leaving.
Yeah, I'd say.
And they're the only one that knows him. Song about heartbreak, splitting up.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful song. The arrangement's lovely. As Tony said before, the whole album's full of orchestral elements, but, there's loads of really cool orchestral parts to it. The brass section is just really prominent and really clever harmonies. It's super rich, heartfelt song, I think. What do you reckon, Tony?
Yeah, you know what? And I loved this is a song that's always gone down well at gigs as well.
Right.
This was another song that, you know, you kind of straight after Body, it was like, yeah, and do you know me as well, will you please, mate? To the who's making the tune. So, you know, just that mid-late where it's, you know, it's that clapping thing, you know what I mean? It goes, everybody kind of goes with it. It is a kind of a sing-along tune. And like you said, it just kind of goes from that radio silence at the beginning, kicks in, and then dum 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 dum. You know, it just, and obviously like the video's pretty iconic with it as well.
Oh God, yeah.
But as a song, and then, you know, obviously going into Unchained Melody at the end on Stuff. You know, Gareth Gates' version anyway. And then, but I've seen him go into Mud's It's Gonna Be Lonely This Christmas. I've seen him do that as well, because this was kind of a Christmas release of the album, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've seen him also go into that. So if we kind of did that at Christmas, then we'd kind of go into the Mud thing.
Oh.
You know?
Right.
You know, so yeah, he said, this is what I like to give my kind of little bits of what I've done.
Yeah.
No, I like it.
Love it.
So yeah, I think, but it was a real kind of favourite tune, this, and I think that I don't think it fits in with the rest of the album at all.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know, I think this is real kind of classic pop Robbie.
Yeah.
You know, sing along, clap along, you know, doo-wops, like you said, you know, the harmonies in the back are really, really nice, you know. So, yeah, I love this song.
It gets into your head, doesn't it? I can hear it playing around in my head as we're speaking. Actually,
Yeah.
you can almost, yeah. So the video. Should we talk about the video?
Yeah.
The video was directed by Phil and Ollie, also known as Diamond Dogs. In You Know Me and Rob said, me and Ida had watched Big Brother that summer. I hadn't watched since the first season, but we really enjoyed it. We got engrossed and got taken on the ride. One of the tasks was Alice in Wonderland, and Siavash was the White Rabbit, and he had a nice tweed suit on with +4s, and he looked really cool. I just thought, I want to be a rabbit in my next video, and it was filmed at Shepperton Studios. So it happened, you know, his dreams come true.
It's certainly eye-catching, and looking back at my Facebook post from that period, it seems that the video came out on the same day that the album was released. So obviously that was great promo for the album, because it's the kind of thing everyone would talk about. You know, look what Nutty Robbie's doing now. He's dressed as a rabbit. So great promo for the album. But he does look really good, and I like it when he's himself in it, when he's not got the rabbit costume on. He looks good. But it's certainly funny. And the talking cabbage things, singing cabbages. Tony's just showing us a nice picture of Robbie in his bunny
Oh, is that
hat.
Tony?
Oh, is that you,
Or is
Tony?
that Tony in the Robbie hat?
Can't quite
No, that's me.
Oh, it is you.
Tony
You
in
can't
the
quite
rabbit
see
hat, I mean.
your face.
Yeah, it's me.
I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you recreate the video? Tell us that. Why were you wearing the rabbit
No, I didn't.
costume?
But I tell it was just we did a hen party, and all the girls had to come as their favourite Robbie character.
Oh, I think I
Robbie
might
video.
know whose hen party that was.
What a great idea. There's lots of characters to choose from, right?
We all ended up. They came to a gig, and I was like in the limo, so with them, and it was just like,
Wow.
this is a bit weird, a bit crazy is the word, but all good fun.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I really like about this video. I don't like videos or films or kind of media that kind of have that easy way out of it being a dream at the end.
Right.
But you know that it's a dream from the start of it when he's in the makeup chair, right?
Yeah.
So we'll cut him some slack. And obviously you can't have the old Alice in Wonderland thing for real anyway.
Yeah,
can you?
yeah.
And that's all part of, you know, that original kind of story anyway. But what I really like about this character is that then he was the rabbit before he came back on in Progress, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah.
You know, when he, he's that character
Yeah.
just before he comes on for the Progress tour with Take That, which is,
It's really
I
clever.
think, is the best opening I've ever seen him do.
Yeah,
You know, I just thought it was really, really cool.
yeah. Loved that.
So I think, you know, when you kind of, I know he's saying in this that at the time of the album, he really wanted to be back in Take That then, is that that character from this album is then back in Take That. So it kind of does that full circle thing.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And they did the most incredible production, didn't they? Where they went sort of inside, down the rabbit hole, and you saw different characters inside, and you couldn't quite see, you could only see it on the video screens to begin with, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And I was like, is that actually happening in there? And then suddenly they all came out. Oh, fantastic. But yeah, what a great link.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, if I'm right in saying, we talked to American Paul about this, who's a big Lewis Carroll, Alice in
My favourite
Wonderland
episode,
fan.
American Paul, by the way.
Aha! Shout out to American Paul. He mentioned about the way that Robbie has actually used Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland influences before, and it was, good tribute. And I love the way the rabbit roars like the MGM lion at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And then there's one bit where he's actually he's got the full face paint mask on, and then obviously the beginning he's just got the just the fur on around his head.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Okay, let's talk about Blasphemy. So, written by Rob and Guy, the credits say it's based on an original arrangement by Guy. It was the last song Guy and Rob wrote and recorded together in LA before breaking up in late 2002. They wrote it in under half an hour while recording Escapology. Rob said, "It's about making loads of friends and realising they're all cunts." They recorded it twice and that was that. They hugged and Rob said, "I love you, motherfucker." It's a show starter, isn't it? Chris Heath described it as a complicated and despairing tale of dysfunctional relationships.
During promo, Rob was often asked if he was back writing with Guy and had to explain that this was a song they'd written before. But he did explain. "We're mates. There's no bad feelings." Asked if they'd write together again, Rob said, "It just needs to be the right time. We just need to both be in the right headspace." Chris Heath described how in 2016, Rob was at Guy's birthday party and Guy asked his guests to sing a song. Rob requested he and Guy sing Blasphemy together. They hadn't performed it together since the day they recorded it. Guy had to refresh his memory of the song, saying, "This is a bit of a weird song for me. This is the last song me and Rob wrote together." Rob said, "We had a massive falling out." Guy replied, "It's a bit weird that we're playing this song now, but hey, it's fine." Apparently, Rob remembered all the lyrics and sung it beautifully.
He told Radio 2, "On the new album, I really like the lyric that I wrote for Blasphemy. Ones that I'm always most proud of are the ones that are just about to come out or have just been written. I just see mistakes, sloppy lyrics, cheesy, embarrassing stuff when I look back at my stuff. I'm getting a bit older now and I can see them for what they are and appreciate them for where I was at the time." He introduced Blasphemy at the Electric Proms gig by announcing, "I've been waiting for a home to put it. I was waiting to put it on the Swing 2 album, but that's not coming anytime soon." Although it wasn't actually that long, was it? I guess it was like 4 years later. Yeah. But he obviously wanted to put it out there earlier than that.
Yeah.
So, Tony, you like Blasphemy?
You know what? This is one of my absolute favourite Robbie tracks. And just, one of them songs that you just kind of have that affection for. And it's a song that I've kind of, when I've had struggles with relationships myself, with people close to me, it's a song that I've kind of listened to when I'm away. And it's I think it's one of my favourite lyrics he's ever done. Was it a blast for you? Because it's blast for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a blast for me. It's just like, kind of putting yourself in that narrative that everybody's having a great time around you. But then, and yet again, there's kind of, that religious concept is, there's quite a lot of Jesus and God, even though I don't think that Robbie's that much of a religious person. I know that American Paul picked up on that quite a lot. The kind of the religious connotations to it, but it's just a beautiful song. I just started playing the piano 2 years ago, and this is like a song I'll just sometimes just tinkle away and just play a little bit. And I just think it's a beautiful song. It's quite a sad song. I think it's quite appropriate that this was the last song that Robbie and Guy did together before the kind of an argument, because I think that it can kind of relate to their relationship a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, it just kind of, it's quite biographical. I can't even say that word. Biographical.
Yeah.
Wow. I've got Matt's teeth in it. So
Give them back.
yeah, I just think, you know, be reflecting on your childhood and, you know, like Gravy in the Mud. I think that's kind of, you know, when you're a kid and when we were kids, when I was in the war, you know, that's what you're doing. You just play in the mud and just get full of that was getting your immunity being built up, wasn't it? Just getting covered in mud.
Yeah.
What does Gravy in the
so
Mud mean,
just,
though?
For me, it's just kind of, I think it's, I think we called it like sloppy dodo or something like that. You know, when you're just making like mud pies
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff
Right,
like that.
okay.
That's what I kind of related to.
Yeah.
I might be totally wrong.
makes sense.
But, you know, when as a kid, when you're just getting covered in shit,
Yeah.
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 it's just like, you know, that was our
Right.
that was our immunity boosters.
Yeah.
True.
You know, and I think it's a song that I kind of relate to my brothers and stuff like that. And so it just kind of takes me back to a bit of a childhood process. And like for me, when all my mates have been having a good time at a show, or people having a great time when they come to my gig, but I'm kind of not having a great time because I'm at work.
Yeah.
You know, which is not very often. You know, I usually have a great time, but sometimes, you know, just that kind of, I'm not really enjoying this, but you're having a fucking great time, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
I think it's outstanding, this song. Yeah, it's just so simple, beautiful, and he sings it perfectly. I feel like you can almost hear this song being in a musical on stage or in a film. I think it's worthy of that.
Yeah.
Because it's got such depth and sincerity. One of his best lines, no singles, just fillers.
Oh, I was going to say that.
I know, but I had to say it.
Yeah.
Because how many times has he talked about, you know, his worries about
We know what
that?
Rob's talking about there, don't we? Or fans do, anyway.
Yeah. And when he says, we could send 1 million to the moon, but why can't I get on with you? I can't help but think every time he says that of a minion, as in a yellow minion from Despicable Me going to the moon. Because sometimes that's just what I hear and that's what I envisage, a minion going up to the moon. That's just random. But why can't I get on with you? With cellophane around my mouth stops the anger seeping out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
That's a brilliant lyric.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, with everything that's going on at the moment, like how you say, you know, we can send 1 million to the moon, we can send a man to the moon. It's like, no, you know, we can do this conversation, you know, you could be at the other side of the world, and then, you know, but we're still kind of going to war and stuff like that. It's just,
Yeah.
I know that's kind of relative and, you know, kind of topical at the moment, but it is kind of, you know, it is kind of a head scratcher that we can do something like that, but, you know, humanity sometimes just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Deep.
Yeah.
Very deep. And I like the key change for the middle eight as well, when he sings Our Great Adventure, Christmas in the Snow, that bit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
I just think it's an incredible ballad, all in all.
Yeah.
I probably don't quite like it quite as much as you two do, by the sounds of it. I'm never quite totally sure what to make of it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I think I like it. It's not one of my go-to songs.
Yeah.
But it's extremely clever. I love the play on words. It was was it a blast for you, blast for me? And as Tony said, it kind of weirdly works with what happened with Rob and Guy and the fact that they came back together, and that was the first song that they sang when it was all a bit like, must have been a very spooky time
circle
when they were doing that. But obviously it was the right thing. So yeah. I don't think I can add any more. You two were gushing about it so much that I don't think I can add much more to it, really.
It's great. I love it.
So shall we talk about Do You Mind?
Yeah.
So this was written by Rob, Danny, Calvin and Chaz Jankel. Chaz is the guitarist and keyboard player in Ian Jury's band, The Blockheads. Chaz told Enemy in 2008 that Rob had invited him to LA for some intensive songwriting sessions, saying, "Working with Robbie is great. It's extraordinary being part of this songwriting team." Kevin and Danny of Sound 5 are bringing a very sharp yet witty contribution to the affair. Robbie is on top form and the atmosphere is totally conducive to writing great music.
BBC Radio 1's Scott Mills asked Rob what the second single might be and suggested Do You Mind? Rob said, "I like that song, but I just look at video shoots and go, it's too energetic for me that. I want a song that I can just stand there and sing. Do You Mind? I'll have to fanny about. I don't want to pretend to be Mick Jagger again." Do You Mind includes the first use of the phrase heavy entertainment.
Yes.
And Rob sung it at the Under the Radar gig, commenting on these crazy lyrics and suggesting he might have been high at the time of writing it. "Go get a portable recliner brain, must take a photo for sure, got our problems and a real long name, and she gets high on roll-in roll-ups."
Do, your mind.
Do you like this song, Tony?
You're hired.
Good.
Yeah. You basically just gone through my notes there. Like,
Yeah.
I've just, next to this, I've got the Stones and I've got Heavy Entertainment. So
Yeah.
I just think this was kind of the first time we heard Heavy Entertainment as a concept. I think this is song very similar to Place to Crash on Intensive Care. You know, that kind of Stones vibe.
Yeah.
And this for me would have been a better song to release than Morning Sun.
Right.
You know, I think it's really catchy. And, you know, I don't know about the lyric, "I touch you," but
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you know, I really do like this song. Like, because this is an album we don't listen to a lot. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a tough one. But then this comes on, you're just like, you know, you've got four bodies, You Know Me, Blasphemy, then this. This is like a strong four-list track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like,
Yeah.
you know, it does pick you up kind of mid-album, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why they kind of put it in there.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's all downhill for me.
Yeah, I like There's Heavy Entertainment Out Here on the Pavement because it just makes me think of the queues for
Being
the
on the
concerts. Queuing on the pavement for a concert and all the arguing and the fun as well that happens out there on the pavement.
Yeah, hopefully more fun than arguing. There
Yeah.
usually is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a vicious cue, that, isn't it? Listen, I hear it from all sides. Don't worry about it. You know, I'm just like, man,
Yeah.
I'm more bothered about what you're doing with that pop-up tent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A little bit of passive aggression going on occasionally. would explain
I
it.
just remember
mildly.
seeing a picture once of a woman just basically, I just remember seeing a woman once, I think it was on the Let Me Entertain You tour, who just basically pissed
Yeah,
herself in the queue.
I knew you were going to say that.
Right.
I think it was Sarah Hoyland that shared that photo in Barcelona or somewhere.
Yeah, it wasn't Sarah who pissed
No.
No,
herself.
it wasn't, no. But she just couldn't
clear
believe
that
this
up.
woman had just pissed
Just for
herself
the
in the queue on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it wasn't even a Robbie queue, that. It was just in Wakefield where she's from.
Yeah. And she likes
Ponte.
to
From Ponte.
she likes to reshare that every year as well, doesn't she?
Oh,
To give
yeah.
everyone a
Wants
laugh.
to keep it going. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep the
it's
memories
funny,
going.
Funny.
Anyway, I was really surprised when he sung this at Under the Radar. It kind of wasn't really on my radar that he would sing it. I just hadn't thought of it. It was surprising.
But a good concert song, a really good live song to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he did it well, didn't he, with all those crazy lyrics? Yeah, mental lyrics.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the best gigs that was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just so
Yeah, it
good.
was.
What I remember of it anyway, I was at the back again. In jeans, not in pajamas.
Oh,
Have you not
Tony.
got yourself a set of gold pajamas now?
No, mate, they just irritate you. Don't they?
Yeah, apparently. I love the intro to this track. The electric guitar, and then there's that's just a bit of cowbell going on. It just works. And the line, "This song is full of metaphors." I mean, that's Rob all over, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, "I'm a night kind of animal. You're a receiver. What you testing me for? I was scared, so I ate them all. They tasted good, but they made me look old." And I wondered if that was about Rob's unfortunate sleep eating habit that he used to do, where he used to go and eat chocolates and things out of the fridge during his sleep and not really remember doing it the next day. What was it? I ate £32 worth of chocolate, or $32 of chocolate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably nothing to do with that, but and I think, the chorus just makes you want to sing along to it. It's just super catchy. It's a good track.
Yeah. And it's surely the only song in the world that mentions Sensodyne toothpaste. Sensodyne rhymed with wine. Only Robbie. Yeah. And when he says, "Better let me into your country, though, then I can show you what you're missing me for." I was wondering whether that's USA letting him in to show them what they're missing out by not having him, be famous there, or whether it's about him being let back into the UK to, see why we've been missing him since he's been living in America.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's a total double-edged sword, that, isn't it, with Robbie? I think it's just kind of, as he gets older, that anonymity of being in the US, but people know he is in the US.
Yeah.
I got spotted once in Vegas, which was kind of
by an American.
crazy. By an MTV crew.
Oh,
Right.
They thought you were Robbie.
In the Palms. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Brilliant. Love Vegas.
Right, we better move on.
Yeah. Let's talk about Last Days of Disco. So, written by Rob, Danny and Kelvin, this was released as a promo single in the USA on the 5th of October 2010, where it hit number 7 on the Billboard Hot Dance Club chart. It included several remixes by Roger Sanchez, Still Going, Black Van, and Mighty Mouse.
And that's all the information we could find on
That's
that
it.
song.
Last Days of Disco.
So, I'm not really sure what this song's about. Is it his career? Looking back, one thing that I do like is the robot type backing vocals, because they remind me of Ferris Bueller's synth that he uses to make the cough. It's just got that 80s kind of sound, and that's all I can hear now.
I like that link.
Yeah. You'll know what I mean when you hear it, when you think about it. What do you think, Matt?
It's got that super 80s, sort of early 90s feel to it immediately from the introduction. So I'm just warmed to it immediately. And I love the synthesizer that you talked about. I didn't pick up on the Ferris Bueller link, but I will now. And the electronic drum beat, and then Rob's voice kicks in. I think there's a massive homage or link to Pet Shop Boys influence here.
Yeah.
You could actually mistake this for a Pet Shop Boys track, I think.
You could,
which, Robbie, if you're listening, that's a high accolade, I think. Especially when he's singing "I'm All You Hear." While you're here, I'm not going to sing it, but
Yeah, it's a great disco. It is a great disco song, I think.
Yeah, and I love the lyric "Stay calm and carry on."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's that little instrumental bit before the final verse, with a deep voice saying, "I want to get high, I want to get high, I want to get high and dance." Something like that.
Tony, do you like it?
Do you know what I remember about this song is they used this for the promo of maybe the Electric Proms.
Oh, right.
Because the line, "Don't call this a comeback," because he'd been away for 3 years since Rude Box, and I just remembered him using that, "Don't call this a comeback." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just remember that, and I think that then you thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a good tune," but I think it is very kind of, I've got Pet Shop Boys down here.
Yeah.
It is kind of that. It's very kind of that Casio keyboard. Not necessarily for Ferris Bueller, but that just what you got as a kid. I think it's very kind of simple song that I don't think it ever kind of takes off, kind of thing. But Yeah, it's a bit of a random one.
It is random. Yeah, I like how he says, "I'll decide when it's over" as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of understand why there were several remixes of it, can't you? By
Yeah.
Sanchez and a few others.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can imagine like a really...
There's some big names who are remixing that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can imagine like a really long club version of it, you know, just with his lyrics sort of coming in and out. And you
Yeah.
know, I've not really listened to any of those. I should go and have a look at those, actually. I'll listen to those.
Yeah, I haven't either.
You love dance, do you? Love a bit of EDM, Lucy? Come to that.
I'd like some EDM. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
There's some coming. I predict in the future, obviously, when this podcast goes out. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I like how the music kind of peaks and troughs, and I think his vocal sounds incredible. Yeah, that's that. That's Last Days of Disco.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Somewhere? Written by Danny Kelvin, Andy Stubbs, Jonathan Hand and Stephen Cadman. I also found another song called Curl Up by Sound 5, which was written by those same 5 people, but I can't find any more information on who the Jonathan, Stephen and Andy guys are. So if you know, let me know. Obviously it's a really short song, so we probably won't have much to say.
Very short.
Tony,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like we kind of speak about the maturity of the album and like moving forwards for Robbie. I think this is kind of an interlude in the album.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of a bit of a, you know, that it's a minute and 4 or something like that, isn't it? So it's just kind of, you know, he's a little bit, we're going to move on to the second half of the album. You know, so I think it's a bit of something and nothing.
yeah,
You know, and then, you know, yet again, that the album set list structure, I think that this is just kind of slapped in the middle there just to break it up a little bit.
right, yeah. Yeah, that's what I basically said. It's almost like an interlude.
Yeah. Or an interstitial.
Yeah.
That's the other word I
Interstitial,
use.
isn't it?
Interstitial. I don't know. I know Coldplay have used it on their Music for Spheres album. You know, where they've got little short tracks that fit in between. But
Right.
So, and I've seen other artists use it as well. I think that it is a really good precursor for Decepticon. So I think it does break the music up, but I think it sets it up. If you listen to the two together, I'm always really excited to hear that Decepticon come on next.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it always sets that up for me.
I like, don't go out and find a wife. Don't get stuck in the state I'm in. Someone somewhere is loving you. It's just nice, you know, because obviously he did go and find Ida and he was in a happier state than he was. But by then he was happy. So yeah, it's just saying, everyone out there, you can be happy like I am now.
Yeah.
There's hope for everyone. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. Decepticon, should we move on to that?
Yeah. So Decepticon was written by Rob, Danny, Kelvin, Richard and Scott. The credits say it's based on an original production by Soul Mechanic. It was written at the Gilliand Ranch, Trout Lake, Washington, which is supposedly a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. Rob was searching the night sky for activity with inconclusive results with his Stoke friends. In between, they wrote Decepticon and Soda Pop. Can I start
Yeah, go on then.
Decepticon?
Yeah.
Thank you. I absolutely love Decepticon. I just love everything about this track, and I couldn't wait till we got to it. I love the orchestral arrangement. I love the incredible harmonies, Rob's vocal, the lyrics. It's just amazing. It's emotionally rousing, beautiful, cool. And I had to sort of look up what is a Decepticon, because I don't think most people use it in everyday language.
No.
And this may not be right, but the Urban Dictionary, that very reliable source in the UK, says it's a woman who appears attractive but is actually ugly. Or it can be found in a number of situations for a variety of reasons. Clever use of makeup.
Or I read that it could be like,
I call them a Monet.
Monet.
You know, like the closer you get, you're like, oh.
I read that it could be someone that's attractive but ugly on the inside as well.
Yeah, I think it's more metaphorical in
Yeah.
that,
I think that's
that
a good
way.
analogy.
Yeah. And I won't steal the bit you're going to say, but
Okay.
I think the ending of the song is incredible as well. It's just hypnotic, enchanting. I love listening to this song. Did I gush enough about that? Yes.
Yes.
Who wants to go next?
Tony, do you want to go next?
Yeah, it's no blasphemy, is it?
Was for me.
Yeah, I think too shy like that. Yeah, I think that, you know, it's yet again, it's some good Robbie lyrics in it. You know, all over Britain, wait for permission to form another queue. You know, it's
That is the best
really
line.
kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it is very kind of. But welcome to Britain, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, because wherever you go in the world, it's just like, oh, you must be British. Yeah, why is that? Because you stood there waiting for something. And then, you know, and at the end, it's like, I love you, but I don't like you right now. Is it something like that?
Yeah.
I think is a really kind of beautiful line. And I think, I don't know whether that kind of adheres to kind of maybe family or something like that. I think that that's a real kind of family sentiment, you know, because just because you love somebody doesn't necessarily mean you like them. But I think that, you know, you can even say that about yourself. You know, you don't, you've got to love yourself, but you don't always like yourself
Yeah.
as well. I think, you know, sometimes it is kind of self-sabotaging these songs from Robbie, and whether it's like first or third person, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, I didn't know whether, you know, this is somebody who's kind of maybe betrayed him as well, and it was just a little bit of a dig at him. You know, I just kind of get that vibe from it, that it's just, you know, it's quite an angry song deep down, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my favourite line is all over Britain, we wait for permission to form another queue as well.
Sorry if I
Yeah, that's okay.
pinch your notes
It's fine.
there.
I think you like that as well because you think about...
Such a Decepticon.
Yeah, I think about the queues, concert queues.
Yeah, you're
And
also
how-
thinking about queuing for Robbie.
Yeah. I just think he sings it so well, and you can really feel like the yearning when he sings it. It's like really soulful and haunting. I also made note of, it's clever how the emphasis of the lyrics change from, she said, well, he's never been quite right, and I know we'll be stepping on eggshells tonight. And then it changes to, she said, only you could make it right, but I've stopped stepping on eggshells tonight. Not really sure the meaning behind it, but I just like it. I love the ending, who are you, what are you to me? And I just think that Rob's vocal is exquisite,
Yeah.
and I love it as well. Not as much as you, I don't think, Matt, but I do love it.
You've also noted that Decepticon was in Transformers.
Nice.
Well, apparently a Decepticon is a Transformers
Yeah.
character, or alien, as they are.
Yeah. That's the first thing I thought of when I actually heard the song being
Yeah.
released, you know, and on the album. That's what I and I'm not like a science fiction movie buff, but I was like, I'm sure Decepticon is like,
Yeah.
you know, they're the baddies, I think, as well in the movies.
Yeah,
aren't
they are.
So-
Yeah.
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 Multiple meanings, as usual with Rob.
Yeah.
Probably all correct.
But it's clever, isn't it, to come up with a song based around that word, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Should we talk about Starstruck?
Yeah.
Written by Rob, Danny, Kelvin and Paul Beard, and based on an original production by Soul Mechanic. Paul was Rob's keyboard player and musical director from 2009 to 2012. Paul also produced Lily Allen's Somewhere Only We Know, which reached #1 in 2013, and he's worked with Leona Lewis, Brian Ferry, The Blue Tones and James Blunt. Rob wrote 30 to 40 songs for the album, and everyone involved listed their favourites to make the shortlist. Rob said, Trevor picked this from the list to go on the record, and he was right. I'd missed it. Honestly, it's a grower. During his December promo gigs, Rob kept asking the audience whether this or Morning Sun should be the third single. At the Electric Proms, he introduced it by saying, "It sounds a bit like George Michael. We didn't set out to do that, but at the end of the song we'd written it and went, ooh, it's a bit George Michael, and that's really cool because George Michael's ace."
Radio 1's Scott Mills asked if it's about celebrity culture. Rob replied, "Yes, this is all new media now. People have got to like it and lump it. People say, but these people don't do anything. They're famous for being famous. Yeah, that's what's going on. We enjoy watching it, or else it wouldn't be there." He later told T4, "I don't think it's a song about how easy it is to become famous. It's about a lot of different things. The main one is, I'm not taking the mickey out of anybody that is on reality TV shows or contestants on anything, because I would have done the same thing if I wasn't in this position. I say, isn't it a miracle everybody's starstruck? It's like me looking at my audience some nights and going, what are you doing here? I'm just doing this and I'm doing that. It's a miracle. Everybody's starstruck. Wicked."
It's funny, isn't it, to think of him looking out at us and just thinking, you knobs, why do you like me? Because that's what he thinks, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
What was the line? What are you cunts watching this cunt for? Or something, wasn't it?
He did say that once, yeah.
Just drop the C-bomb in once more.
The C-bomb's in. It's my favourite bomb, but man, you two like to use it more than I do.
It's Robbie's influence.
I like the way this song opens with, I think it's a synth, but at the Electric Proms, I think they had an actual woman singing it, but it just sounds really, cool. I like it. It's got a great beat.
That kind of soprano on it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a great opener. You laugh at us, we're different, and we laugh at you. We laugh because you're all the same. That's brilliant. Love that. I don't have to listen, read, like, love you. I was thinking is that like Rob doesn't have to listen to the public's opinion of him. He's got no problem with going back to like the minimal life. I was trying to work out what that meant. It doesn't matter if he loses it all. You know, he doesn't have to change himself to make people like him. That's what I felt it was. Living in hysterica for everybody's betterment. Is that living with the fame that provides entertainment for everyone else? So he's living in this craziness, but it's providing entertainment for the public. Yeah, I like it. What do you think,
Tony?
Yeah, I think that, it was at a point when I think that Facebook, YouTube and stuff like that were kind of becoming prominent. That social media kind of frenzies was starting 2008, 2007, something like that. So it was now kind of building momentum, and it is crazy. I know that we've kind of joked about Lucy kind of going standing outside of buildings and standing in queues and stuff like that. I do find the fame element kind of strange. Maybe it's, but I mean, I've been starstruck by, I think I was a bit starstruck by Robbie, and, if you're kind of in a room with people like David Beckham or, stuff like that, you're going to, people kind of get your aura. Likewise, when somebody amazing walks into the room. I think Robbie kind of once went about Gwyneth Paltrow was sat opposite him in a hotel and he was playing drafts or backgammon, something like that, and ended up losing the game because he was so kind of in awe of Gwyneth Paltrow, you know what I mean? So I think regardless of your level, you're always going to kind of be starstruck by somebody. There's always going to be somebody more famous, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think the lyric that kind of stuff is like, knock one off the wrist so hard. You know what I mean? So it's kind of as if somebody's doing something weird stuff as well. So, you know what I mean? There's kind of that, that sexual connotation there. Yeah. But, which Robbie likes to chuck in every now and then. Yeah. But I think it is kind of, that is kind of the celebrity business that he's in. Yeah. And, it's just, such is life now. You see people famous for being on YouTube. I can find myself a bit out of touch with it all. But
yeah, we're getting old.
I suppose that's just a sign of getting old, isn't it?
TikTok and all that.
Yeah, it's all about TikTok now. 1 billion people a month on TikTok, apparently.
Not me.
3 times the amount that are on Spotify. Yeah, world's largest streaming platform. And that's where, I think coming up in the future, obviously we're talking about the past, but coming up in the future, I think Rob's experimental side and his creative side, if we come back to that, is a good thing. You know, not everyone's going to like all of what he does. And I think, you know, we're recording this in 2022. I think we're going to see some very interesting experiments from Rob coming up. That's just my own personal prediction.
Yeah.
Some of which people are going to love, some fans are going to hate. But, you know, he's a creative. And I think, like this song says, I don't have to listen, read, like, love you, you know. So he's just going to get on and do his thing.
Yeah.
I think. But,
yeah.
I think Robbie's got enough kind of credit and money in the bank, and I use that as a metaphor, not as a financial kind of thing, that he's got enough creative credit and sustainability in there that he can kind of venture out, like with this album, like he did with Rude Box. Yeah. I mean, he'd kind of had, like a 10-year kind of run at it from like leaving the band 95, 96 and then going back at it.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of, you kind of get, you've got to kind of go down them little avenues to kind of reignite and reassess and, reinvent yourselves. I think that's kind of, that's all part and parcel of being a creative, regardless of your level. It's just, I think that you've got to kind of do that a little bit. So I totally agree, Matt.
I was also interested in that word hysterica, living in hysterica for everybody's betterment. You mentioned it, Lucy.
Yeah.
Hysterica is actually Spanish for hysterical.
Right.
Not that I speak Spanish, but, apparently that's what it is. And then I like the verse, I guess the odds are very good, but the goods are very odd. And even though I talk with the devil, I only made the deal with God.
Yeah, it's a great line.
I mean, that's just amazing songwriting.
Yeah. He's a genius. Should we talk about Difficult for Weirdos then?
Yeah. Written by Rob, Danny and Calvin, and based on an original production by Soul Mechanic, Rob wrote a blog in 2011 explaining this song. We'll paraphrase it as it was quite long and disjointed.
As you can imagine.
The first verse is about a night in Stoke. I think the Ritzy in Hanley. Below was commercial and soul music. Upstairs, it was a mysterious environment frequented by people in the alternative emo genre. And I liked to go up for a song or two and imitate everything and everyone. I wanted to be part of the youth movements, like a sort of chameleon.
In a short time, they considered me a bit out of my mind. So when I publicly declared my interest in the paranormal, they all thought I really was crazy. Yes, it's true I'm weird, so what? Fuck it. Then I started thinking normally, as so many people do, to demonstrate their sanity. Fuck normality. I want to be weird and I have a right to be. Without us, the world would have fewer colours and it would be sad. The second verse is about glory and deliverance. I want to dance in a strange way, to let loose, to be totally absorbed by the music. It's insulting to be misled by the hairdo of a godhead is one of my favourite phrases. I was watching a documentary about the Clash's Joe Strummer and he was pontificating about what music is supposed to mean and what is not music, and so dozens of indie militant fuckers who follow some haphazard rule about what should be of quality. I don't follow their rules. I am the strange, and you are only appearance, and we are the centre of the universe in any case, which is the final sentence of the song. Or for him who poses as an alternative by snubbing what is not, ends up following the rules anyway. He prefers to be considered strange by everyone because he does not belong to any group and have his way freely. So there you go. That's his synopsis on Difficult for Weirdos, which was...
So in a nutshell...
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, come on then, Tony, in a nutshell. We're all weirdos.
Yeah, I think... Yeah. And I think that... But I think that sometimes... Robbie wants to identify as a weirdo to be different.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to be like, when it suits. I'm not specifically saying that's Robbie because I think that we're all kind of like, sometimes you want to stand out. Sometimes you want the best of both worlds, don't you? Sometimes you want to kind of go, well, I want to stand out. It's like, I've had the issue, if I kind of walk into a bar and people are going, you know, he looks like Robbie Williams, and you're a bit like, you know, people are pointing at me, not necessarily, but that's just my mindset. Then you walk into a bar and nobody's going, he looks like Robbie Williams. You're going, why are you not thinking that don't look like Robbie Williams? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of is a very much a creative mindset. You know, it's another kind of track that's very Pet Shop Boys-ish, you know, that kind of, that electro beat.
Yeah, it
pop.
has, yeah.
I just really like the line, he is a lesbian.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of, I know that I've not been with lesbians, but I've been in the company of lesbians in the past, and I'm saying, yeah, I'm a lesbian also, you know, just, you know, so it's, I've used that line a little bit myself, so I just kind of thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
You know, and it is kind of very, you know, you kind of speak about the emo kind of community and stuff like that. And it's, you know, until you kind of take yourself out of that normality, you don't really know what's going on with other people, do you?
Yeah. It's a great electro song with a great beat, isn't it? It's dramatic. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of an effect on his voice, which I think suits the song. I like how the music kind of slows and starts up again. My favourite bit is physical evolution, your pollution makes it difficult for weirdos. Just like the way he sings that bit.
Just another humanoid reaction to the voices in this town.
Yeah.
I wrote that down as well. I like that line.
It's great. Great synths and strings on it as well.
And then another line, in the universe, we are magenta. You can join us if you enter. Great rhyming. Because you're different and you're strange in your own way, you're just the same.
Exactly.
So it's a good song with a good beat, zany lyrics, which are in keeping with being a weirdo. And I like it.
It's good. I like it as well.
So should we talk about Super Blind?
Yeah, okay.
So written by Rob and Phil Eisler, based on an original production and orchestral arrangement by Phil. Phil told us on Twitter, very kindly, that he wrote the original song himself in the late 90s. He and Rob then reworked some of the lyrics to be better suited to Rob and wrote a new chorus together somewhere around 2007. We also found an interview with Phil in which he talked about his time with Rob. I just liked him. We got on very well. When I heard his demos, oh shit, this guy's the real thing. Even though it's Robbie Williams, it felt like a band at the time. There were some monster musicians. We share a dark sense of humour. I love Rob to bits. He's someone you spend that much time on the road with. He's like family, basically. So even though we haven't seen each other, he's sort of one of those people, if I saw him, we'd pick right up where we left off. He's a good bloke. It's actually really nice to see how he's just all about his kids, because that's where my life is now, and it's really lovely to see that.
And on YouTube, there's a version by Phil called Eisler, which is spelled Izler, superblind.wmv, and it sounds like the original version that Phil wrote. It's much rockier, and it even has a rap in it, which is kind of weird, but yeah, very interesting to listen to and compare the two songs. So, Tony, do you want to go first on Super Blind?
Yeah, I think, don't know whether this was kind of, the lyric that kind of stands out for me is kind of, I'm the genius behind me. And I don't know whether that's a bit like another pop-up guy again. You know, whether they were kind of making things up by then. And we said that, you know, they were mates and stuff. I've said I'm mates with people as well, but I'm not. But obviously, you know,
they are now.
They did kind of get it back together, you know, they are, which is great. But I think that I can imagine Robbie being a little bit bitter to kind of going, he's nothing without Guy, you know, and he's going, hang on a minute, I'm the genius behind this, you know, which is totally valid. And I think, and I think not necessarily the Guy link, but people kind of going, well, you know, he was in Take That, and, you know, Gary carried him there and did that. And, you know, and I think that is kind of an insecurity of Robbie, that he's kind of, well, you know, and he is, you know, we are testament that as fans and as a performer myself, that he is fucking amazing at what he does.
Exactly.
You know, and he is a genius. Yeah. You know what I mean? His lyrics are amazing. His back catalogue is justified and, you know, incredible. Yeah. And I think that's the lyric I kind of clung on to, because I just thought there was a little bit of anger there, just saying, hang on a minute, I'm Robbie Williams. I know that he said in the past that, you know, he kind of said, this is for Guy who's as much Robbie Williams as I am. You know, and it's just, when it boils down to it, you know, they are a kind of a good marriage when they're together. But, you know, when you do break up from people, you know, that person that you thought that you loved, it kind of can get very bitter. Yeah. So I think that there is a slight kind of, and like super blind as well, people like not being able to see, you know, that kind of natural sense that most of us have got, you know, to be so blinded by everything, to be super blind is like, well, you know, it's kind of taken away. To be super blind is like taking away your key sense. You know, what I mean? It's just, it's kind of it's a weird phrase in itself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I took out of it as well. And also, I found it interesting when he said, "And here in the next century, what will they think when they think about me?" I'd love that as well, to go into the future and look back and see what people in the future think of Robbie Williams when they look back. You know, there won't be all the criticism I think that you get now for him. I think people will just look back and go, wow, look what that guy achieved back then. He was a big star.
Yes.
Yeah. I think anybody like in the entertainment industry, you know, I think that now kind of, I watched the Wayne Rooney film last week, and people just are now going, Wayne Rooney was amazing, you know, just as a footballer more than, you know, not as a prime example of how to be a husband or whatever, you know, but you know, as a footballer, you just kind of got, he was absolutely, and you forget how incredible he was, you know, and I think that, you know, people kind of, unless they delve into kind of Robbie's archives, and I suppose we kind of see different audiences and the reinvention of, you know, there was obviously Robbie and Take That start off with, then there was Robbie as a solo artist, then there was Robbie who kind of brought swing into a brand new era in 2001 and reignited all that.
Yeah.
Then, you know, and you kind of pick up, like I get a kind of weird perception of it. So if I kind of walk in a shop, I can tell kind of, so say I went for a coffee, like if it was somebody kind of my age, then they might start singing, you know, taking a piss to each other. Is that Robert? They might start singing Angels to each other. Whereas the kind of gear below will know. I went into a coffee shop down in Woolwicombe and they started singing Candy to each other, you know, thinking it was funny. It was like, you know, that reinvention that Robbie's done, I think it's really like underestimated.
Yeah.
You know, his story, his kind of, you know, his timeline is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and the old like love story with him and Gary and Take That in the background of that as well. I think it is kind of totally underestimated by some people, you know, some music fans and stuff like that, as we spoke about, who can't stand him because they like Oasis and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the reinvention is something that's some achievement.
Yeah, it is. Matt?
The range, his vocal range on this track is quite incredible. He extremely high, you know, in some parts. It's just a really lovely vocal. This track is not one which I sort of think, oh, I'm going to put Super Blind on. But when I listen to it, it is an incredible track. And yeah, thanks to Phil Eisler for giving us some details on when he wrote it. Hopefully we can have a chat with him one day and have a bit more of an in-depth discussion about things.
But it's a good song. I like it.
It is.
As I've said about many of the songs. So should we talk about Won't Do That?
This is not a bad album after all,
I know,
is
exactly. When I listen to it, I always feel bad for having neglected it, because it's like, actually, it is a good album. Why don't I listen to it more? So yeah, Won't Do That. Written by Rob, Danny, Kelvin, Richard and Scott. Rob said, "These are childhood friends who lived in Stoke and who had already worked successfully with other groups. I took them with me to LA and was really blown away when I listened to Morning Sun and Won't Do That. They did a great job." Written for Ida, Rob claims it's his first real love song. He told Graham Norton, "I always see certain songs that I write as being promises that I make. I made one promise to Ida, a song called I Won't Do That, and it's about not leaving her and not breaking her heart. And as soon as I'd written it and sung it in the booth, that was sealed. I meant it.
On Radio 2, he said, Swiss Army wife is she can do absolutely everything. She's heaven sent. And the moment that I sang that demo in my bedroom studio was the actual moment that I committed to the relationship. Because in the song, I'm saying, I won't break your heart. I went into the booth kind of a singleton and came out of the booth in a committed relationship to someone I'm going to marry.
And he did.
Yeah.
He also said, I called her Swiss Army knife because she can do everything but ride a motorcycle and anything to do with birds. She has a real phobia for birds. And shout out to my friend Laura, who also has a phobia for birds.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
In Feel, I sing, before I fall in love, I'm preparing to leave her. This new song is the evolution of Feel. On the contrary, it speaks of a relationship based on security, love and trust. I talked to Ida about all my previous adventures. I told her about my past, where my head was, and that I wanted to stay single all the time. For the past 3 years, I've only been out of the house out of necessity. I would prefer to stay at home with her. Ah.
Oh.
Do you want to go first, Matt?
Well, doing my service to our international non-native English speakers or people that don't know Cockney rhyming slang, trouble and strife means wife.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a fact for you. So that's in the lyrics. I guess you can do all sorts of things with a Swiss Army wife, which is a play on words of Swiss Army knife. I love that. Very clever. It leaves me wondering, what is Rob not going to do here when he says, won't do that to you? I guess in the early part of the song, he's saying he could give this up, he could walk away because it doesn't fill him up, but he didn't anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's, I won't hurt you, basically, I think, is all it means.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like early in the relationship, he'd kind of left Ida quite a few times,
that's
wasn't
right.
he?
Yeah.
And he'd just kind of, and he'd gone back to it. And I think that this was kind of, well, if I write a song and put a song on an album about it, then it does, you just clarified there.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it was kind of as if it was one of the nuptials.
Yeah.
Or just kind of one of the vows that you kind of made.
Yeah.
I've done a song, that means that I'm not going to break your heart again.
Yeah.
Which he did on a few occasions. And I think that, being in a relationship when you kind of break that trust for one reason or other, I think that, that's kind of what he's saying, that he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Putting it out there.
I think it has like a Motown kind of retro feel, this song. And there's something very enchanting about hearing him sing his first real love song and actually know that he meant the words and has stuck by them as well. It makes it all the more poignant. But if they ever did split up, I don't think I could listen to this song again. I think I'd have to skip it and be like, no, you broke your promise.
Yeah. I think that this goes back to a little bit more like classic Robbie, Life Through a Lens, like drum Britpop though. I got that vibe from it a little bit more. Like how we said, like, what do you want Robbie to do? I'd like a little bit more of this stuff kind of thing. I just, it's very easy listening, it's nothing too technical, but yet again, I don't know whether this belongs on the album.
Yeah.
I
know what you mean. It has different.
It is a different kind of song from whatever, like Me just doesn't seem to belong on the album. I don't know whether this is kind of, but, it's nice to have a bit of variety, I suppose.
Yeah. It's a good song.
Yeah, it's quite an eclectic mix, this album overall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like,
And if you're ever struggling, like getting back in the Mrs. Good books, then just go and write a song and put it on a big album.
I think I like it as the song goes on. His voice is a bit rockier and he has a bit of a harder edge to it, as you say. It's a bit more Life Through a Lens kind of.
Yeah, that raspiness of his voice is out, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we have the Morning Sun reprise, which we've kind of spoken a little bit about, haven't we, already?
Yeah.
I think it's a graceful end to the album. That's what I wrote down.
Yeah, I think I totally concur with you. It's just, obviously it's just an extension of that Morning Sun. It's that maturity again, and I prefer this to the actual opening track.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's clever, isn't it? Because it's not often, I don't know about you, but okay, when it depends on what you're doing, where you are, if you're in the car or you're at home or whatever, it's not often that you listen to an album end to end. It happens, but it's not like you listen to albums end to end all day, every day. But I think when you listen to this end to end, there's something very clever about that popping up, and it just calls you back to, oh yeah, it's a clever touch.
Yeah.
It's only 1 minute 24 seconds long.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then if you have the digital version, then it's not the end of the album, because then Arizona comes on.
That's right. Good link, Lucy. Good link to Arizona.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Should do this. Not for a living. Written by Rob, Calvin and Danny. It's about UFOs. In about 2008, he was with some friends playing this song. It was dusk, and suddenly a big ball of light appeared over the San Fernando Valley. He was standing on his balcony at the time. When the song finished, it disappeared. When they played it again, it came back on. Once more, when they finished, it disappeared. It happened 4 times. After this, an electrical storm came in, and the balcony on which they were standing was hit by lightning. One of his friends said he saw the ball of light fly straight up and out of sight. Another interview, he said the light started dancing in the sky, and it was like the whole light show for an hour. Then they came back to the studio afterwards, and everyone saw a black strip of light a few inches thick come in through the studio door, and it stretched about 20 feet or so, about the same length as the studio, and went out through the opposite studio window. The friends were Danny and Calvin, who corroborated Rob's story.
Ooh, spooky. So, song about UFOs playing, and they supposedly see some weirdness. It's very, very strange.
Yeah.
Tony, what do you reckon of Arizona?
Yeah. I think that kind of totally makes sense. Kind of getting that synopsis on it, and I think that people kind of frown a little bit at Robbie and his UFO kind of fascination, because I think that it was a time when he was growing a beard and kind of not doing much musically. So I think that fans were a bit like, stop looking at UFOs and make some more.
Oh yeah,
make
music.
some more money. Make some more music. Same thing. So I think that, and obviously, but I think it's a bit ignorant to kind of just dismiss the UFO thing. I'm not like a big believer or anything like that, but I believe in like a bigger picture. When you see the galaxies that they're kind of discovering, you're just like, well, there's got to be something out there. I'm very much that we're not alone.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So to hear this song, kind of relates to that a little bit. Obviously, I'm not in as deep as these guys are, but I'm not going to the Arizona desert, UFO spotting. But it's pretty amazing, and obviously it's just a nice little bonus track.
Yeah. I really like it, and I kind of wish it was on the actual album, on the CD, not just the digital version. I like it. It's got a real alien vibe.
Is it like a bit of radio speech in the background about it?
Kind of astronaut kind of talk, maybe.
Yeah.
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 But I guess he didn't want to include it on the actual CD because of all the negativity around him and aliens, UFO spotting. So that's why it's a bonus track.
Yeah.
And in the Gentleman's Club, they're passing round their Ready Rub, apparently is what he says. And apparently Ready Rub was already rubbed tobacco, which is used in pipes, which makes sense in the Gentleman's Club, kind of thing that they'd be smoking. I just think it's good. It's like it's cool how it's alien sounding.
Yeah.
Spaceship sounding.
Yeah, he talks about Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Probably a lot of people think that's the North Star. And
is it? Or is it? I don't know.
No, the brightest star in the sky. The brightest star in the sky is not the North Star.
Oh.
It's actually Sirius.
Okay.
It's a bright blue. Thank you for asking, Lucy. It's a bright blue star that this weekend becomes briefly visible. Oh no, that's something out of Forbes. It's a bright blue star. It might be out this weekend.
Who knows?
Thank you, Patrick Moore.
And then 51, I'll be waiting. That's great. Refers to the famous Area 51, the name of a highly classified USA Air Force facility within the Nevada Test and Training Range. So this is special for me because I have got a very open mind, and my brother and I, when we were younger, always used to talk about the paranormal and UFOs, and used to watch kind of Arthur C. Clarke's Strange World of Powers, and at least that sort of love all that sort of thing. So I find it fascinating that they have a corroborated story where the three of them saw the same thing.
Yeah.
And apparently not under any kind of influence.
Well, who knows?
Well, the story doesn't say that. But,
No. But if they all saw the same thing, then it can't be, can it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story online, something like people tag me in it all the time, like my mates are a bit abstract, and just about Robbie when he got abducted. The guys kind of said that he got abducted by aliens.
Oh, yeah, I've read that, yeah.
He's like, oh, fucking hell, Tom. What have you been up to now, Sam? You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I mean? I get tagged in all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
I also like the line, entities all around me. I can't explain how they found me. We're occupied, but we don't know it. And there's no way to expose it.
Yeah, I like
Find that very profound and very interesting because, you know,
Deep,
people think you can only think within your own realm of reality with what you know. And I think what he's saying there is actually things could be going on. There could be other things happening that we just can't even conceive or perceive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my deep bit on that song.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Let's talk about Elastic. Written by the three brothers, Kelvin, Danny and Richard. And this appeared as a B-side to Morning Sun. Shall I go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. There's a great beat throughout. I love the electro noises again in the background. Great brass sounds. I love the melody of the "My testimony never fails like a metronome on the nail first thing in the morning, late at night. Stretch me to the maximum till I feel all right." Makes me want to sing it as I say it, but I won't put everyone through that. Is it like about his sort of himself having been stretched by like an elastic band with his talent? He sometimes says that he feels that he's stretched his talent as far as it can go, and he wonders how far he can really stretch it and make it go. What do you think?
Well, there's so many elastic metaphors in this song, isn't there?
Yeah.
Pull me into shape, stretch me to the maximum, elastic for tension, release your potential, rubber banding, stretch it to the distance, making no resistance, push stronger, feel my surface tension, I'm expanding, elasticate my soul. Now, that's not a line from the song, but that's all of the kind of elastic metaphors that I could find. Clever. Very clever. And it's got a lot of ooh, wah, ba, 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 ba.
Yeah.
You know, they're good, those bits. Great high range of vocal by Rob.
I like his vocal on it.
Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, I found it like it's a little bit like Ladies' Night, this. You know, it's just that kind of that fun. I think it's quite funky.
Yeah.
I just, I get that vibe about it. And, it's like I need your elastic for tension kind of thing. Is that as much as he is being stretched, he needs that kind of
push
elasticity in his life, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like a Stretch Armstrong doll, is that when you do get stretched, you come back together and you are still intact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's also that kind of, that rubber band thing, even though it gets stretched, sometimes it snaps, obviously, but, it reforms into its original state, which is kind of, maybe looking into it like that is, that when he does get stretched, he ends up going back to his normal.
Yeah.
Because I don't think normal is kind of a word that we should use, for somebody who's been through the mill like that. But his normal is his normal. So when he gets back to his original state, that's kind of what being elastic band's all about.
I like how he says, "Please don't let me go" as well. That line in particular. He is just an elastic band being stretched. Just don't let him go.
I don't want to
just
ping off
snap.
into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Smash yourself in the face.
Yeah.
With it. That's the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
then we've got this other track to talk about, More to Life.
Written by Mams Taylor for his Persona Non Grata Unwelcome Person album, which was due to come out in February 2010, but it got cancelled before release. It did appear on the Revolution of Runk, which was a digital download by Mams Taylor in 2009. It came out as a free download on datpiff.com.
So it's basically a rap song.
We'll
and
put a link on the website
Yeah.
for this song as well.
Yeah,
so
and
that-
on our socials.
yeah.
It's basically a rap song with Robbie singing a little bit in it. Only about 2 minutes in, he comes in, doesn't he? Unless
Yeah.
he's doing backing vocals the whole way. But it's not my cup of tea.
Nor my cup of tea.
No. What do you think,
Is it
Tony?
your cup of tea, Tony?
It's very, very Tupac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which kind of the only thing I relate to that is, have you seen the picture of Robbie and Tupac having a cigarette and a beer outside in America?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
There's like,
Yeah.
it's just the most random Robbie pic I've ever seen, and every time it kind of pops up, it's just like, that's Robbie and Tupac.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Quite a
just
long
like,
time ago, wasn't it?
they're both just having a cigarette. Yeah, well, long time ago.
Yeah.
So I just kind of think is, you know, and it's not my kind of, it's not my G,
No.
but yeah, it's, you know, I think that Robbie loves that kind of rap.
Yeah. So
music,
for him,
and
he would have
does.
loved
That's
it,
something
wouldn't he?
Yeah, that Public Enemy kind of thing, Beastie Boys kind of sound. So I think that, you know, when somebody kind of says, "Will you just do this on this rap song I'm doing?" he's going to like jump at the chance. You know,
Yeah.
'cause, yeah, again, it's just, you know, it's just kind of having a bit of variety, and why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's just, I don't
Yeah.
think we're going to hear it on any kind of gigs or
No.
what have you anytime
No.
soon. But
No.
No.
you know, listen, how many songs? You know, we talk about how many songs that kind of get put forward for an album. You know, like 40 songs, maybe 40,
Yeah.
50 songs to go on a 12-song album. Imagine how many songs out there. I think that's the great thing about Under the Radar and stuff like that. We get insights into songs that you can see that then have kind of grown and evolved into different songs that have made the cut. I think
Yeah.
that's what I love about the Under the Radars.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a little shout out to let people know that song's out there. Not one that I'd imagine many of you will listen to more than once. If I'm honest. So Electric Proms, as quickly.
Don't know, got his my ringtone.
So as we know, Rob didn't tour this album. He only did a few small gigs during the promo period, and the main gig was the Electric Proms concert for the BBC, which took place at the Roundhouse on the 20th of October 2009. It featured his usual band members, Gary, Neil and Jerry, plus Paul Beard on keyboards, and it heralded the arrival of Carl Brazil on drums. With a big orchestra, he had 38 people on stage with him.
Ida was watching him from the balcony, as well as Simon Pegg, Ian McKellen and James Corden. Scott Ralph and Richard Scott were there, and Rob broke another Guinness World Record for the most simultaneous cinematic screenings of a live concert. It was broadcast live to 200 cinemas across Europe, and then a few weeks later in Australia, South Africa and Mexico.
Rob told Radio 1, "I didn't know it was going to 200 cinemas around the world too, which I'm glad I didn't. I was that nervous about that performance that about 24 hours before the show I was, you can't do this to yourself, try and think in a different way. So I just acted like I wasn't bothered, or else I was going to put myself in a mental home again. Before I went on, I was so relaxed, so calm, and just thought, I'm going to stand there and sing the songs and we'll just see what the response from the audience is after. Everybody clapped and cheered and was very receptive and listened to the new songs, and I know that can be boring. The whole gig was wonderful, and it was nice to see an audience and sing the new stuff. I didn't have the high afterwards. I just remained calm all the way through it, from beginning to end. I just stayed in that plateau, which was very comfortable. We did Video Killed the Radio Star, and it was my favourite moment of the show, to be honest."
In Reveal, Rob described this gig to Guy. In his head, his comeback had already been derailed. I was leaving New York after working with Take That, and I knew that I'd got to go and do this whole thing that was terrifying me at the time and overwhelming. I had a good time with the boys, and I knew I was safe there. And then I'd got to go and do this thing that I just wasn't prepared to do. I remember leaving New York and thinking, I just don't want to do this. Then Bodies happened on the X Factor. It felt like trauma when it was picked up on as being weird. It still feels shameful and hurtful. And that's why I wanted to cancel all the promo, because it didn't feel safe. I was so scared. What I was doing just didn't feel second nature anymore.
But I think he did a great job at the Electric Proms. I think it was a really good show. Were you lucky enough to be there, Tony?
I wasn't there, no. One of those that I missed out on. And, you know, I've been really lucky. The only tour I've not got to go on is the Let Me Entertain You tour, actually, which was probably the most dates he's ever done. I think I had a ticket for Riga, and then like a big job come in, and it was like, I'll do the job instead of going and watching Robbie. And I kind of do regret, and there was a couple of things I should have done and didn't go to. But I didn't end up going to the Roundhouse. And I've only been to the Roundhouse twice. I've been once for the Under the Radar gig, another when my wife was doing a modelling show there. So it was nice to go backstage and do stuff like that. So it's kind of really cool. I think it's a really kind of suitable like auditorium for Robbie to perform at, because I think it does make him feel a bit safe. Like I thought that when we went watching him in Vegas, that was kind of the perfect scenario for him being. It just always seemed really in control. And then I remember like thinking, and then a few weeks after that was Hyde Park, and I went to Hyde Park with the same guy I went to with Vegas with Phil. I said, it's going to be interesting, you know, watching him come out at Hyde Park. And then he come out and he was like, ah, and like, I think he come in at the wrong point. And let me
Did he? I didn't
you.
notice that.
You know what I mean? So it's just like that smaller kind of and I think that just so that kind of small, even though he's such a, you know, stadia kind of performer and he fills stadiums, but the atmosphere is always bounced in there. I think that he does find a lot of safety in that kind of, you know, that kind of close proximity.
Because he can see the audience.
You know, when it's still got a really nice vibe, and obviously it's accessible. And I think that as a performer, you kind of always relate to that a little bit. If you can get to like every member of the audience, not every member, but, you know, if you kind of get in there. And I think this is a really good set list as well. You know what I mean? Because Come Undone's in there, Blasphemy's in there, Video Killed the Radio Star, obviously. I Will Talk on Hollywood with Listens in there. You know, just like really kind of nice little pick tracks that I would have picked from albums and stuff like that. You know, so the set. But I tell you what I find really weird about this performance is his kind of costume. He's got blue denim jeans, like a really cotton, and like brogues. It looks like he's been watching Rugby Union.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
I know what you mean.
And like obviously this is kind of the get up I like. It's just kind of an unusual, yet again, maturity kind of, you know, dressing a little bit more kind of smarter, you know, with the shoes
that was
on
Ida's
and stuff
influence.
like that. That it always been like, you know, trainers on stage.
Because it was Electric Proms as well.
Yeah, you kind of see that.
An air of
poshness
needing
about
to
it.
be a little bit more formal.
Yeah.
A little bit smarter.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know what you mean about the smaller gigs though, because he likes the Radio 2 Theatre as well, I think. You know, he always seems to really take it quite seriously when he's there, and I think there's something comforting about just being able to see absolutely everybody's eyes.
Well, it's strange that when he's at the bigger gigs, is that, you know, he picks out members of the crowd that he knows his fans. I know he's kind of shouted to you, the champions, and, you know, whether it be to Sarah or people, and, you know, he kind of gives people a wave, or, you know, so it's weird that like in the massive gigs, he still kind of picks on, you know, not picks, but focuses on the people at the front that he recognises with, and that probably does make him feel a little bit safer, you know what I mean, that he's got that loyal following, like, because then, and obviously being on stage as well, you can't see that far, you can only see the front row anyway, you know, when that spotlight's on you, you can't see anything. You know,
that's a good point.
That light is blinding, isn't it? So, you know, but I definitely think that this, just for his, not his creativeness and his, you know, his showmanship, but as a performer in his safe place, I think this is where he brings his strongest vocal, you know, he's tight, you know, everything's on point. Whereas, you know, when on the, that's why he's got the screens to tell him the words to his own songs. You know what I mean? It's just, because it's that manicness of something so big, and it's totally understandable. So I think that these are always kind of again, like the Under the Radar gig at the same venue. It was so cool because he was like, in that safe place.
Amazing.
And I think it's incredible that it was 3 years since his last performance. And Andy opened with Bodies, which I think really worked. Well, in my eyes, it did. Anyway, the crowd seemed to enjoy it. And I think he seemed quite happy and confident to be there. And it was great to see him on stage with that full orchestra. I think it looked like a great atmosphere in the Roundhouse. It really worked in there, like you said. He obviously had his usual concern about playing new material, and he always has to address that, always has to say it, because I think it's just on his mind. He has to tell everyone, I know you don't like listening to the new stuff, but, you've been really good. And so we really enjoyed rolling out Come Undone, one of your favourites, Tony. He really, that was a poignant moment when he said that thing about new material, and then, here's Come Undone, and then boom, that classic came out, and the crowd really got going, including singing the full of shit line.
Yeah, but on the BBC they blanked
beeped it out. I know.
Silenced it out.
It's one of your favourite lines, that. You like singing full of shit, don't you?
Yeah. But on the radio version, it wasn't beeped out. It was only the TV red button version.
Yeah. And also, shout out to Trevor Horn, because it was this concert that I learned that actually he was the one that suggested to Rob that to actually put Decepticon onto the album, and he did. And I love the live version of that. It's just incredible with the orchestra, and it makes me like that song even more. And I think he had a lot of fun covering Video Killed the Radio Star as well. He looked so he's really enjoying it. And of course, Angels to finish. Yeah.
It's a great fun song though, isn't it?
But we didn't get to go.
No, I tried for tickets. They sold out. I was gutted. Yeah. So he did a few other live performances as well. We'll just mention a few.
Yeah, another big performance was when he sung a couple of songs at the Albert Hall on the 12th of November at the Children in Need Rocks concert. The concert was opened by Take That, who introduced an old friend to the stage, which is when Rob came on and stood on the stage with them for the first time since 1995. They took a bow together, and then Take That left the stage, and Rob sung You Know Me and Bodies. As Rob was in the midst of writing with Take That and just wanted to be back with them publicly by this point, he said, "It was too short, to be honest. I wanted to milk it and get them on for another bow as the crowd went mental."
And we were there at the Albert Hall, and I was going mental at that time when they came on. It was like, yes, all this time I've waited, and now they're back on stage together. And I said to Matt, do you remember going to that concert, the Children in Need concert at the Albert Hall? He said, no, I've never been to the Albert Hall. And then I listened to watched our videos back, and you can hear Matt wooing and singing on our videos. So he was with me, and he forgot.
You've heard, Tony's heard, if Tony's listened to all these episodes. I do have a memory problem occasionally, and I hope I'm not getting early onset Alzheimer's. but I don't have the biggest memory of being there. And when you watch it back, it's such an epic bloody concert.
Yeah, but is it
it could well have been. I don't know whether I might have met Lucy. I might have had a few drinks after work in London or something. I don't know what was going on, but you don't forget going to the Albert Hall, do you? I don't know. I was definitely there because I was taking the videos.
Yeah, Matt took the videos.
But there we go.
But yeah, it was a great moment. I was just really happy to have been there.
I think, just like the love story of Take That and just like this coming back full circle. What I kind of always find entertaining is that, like, I've heard, like, some of the stuff that kind of you spoke about on previous episodes, I've kind of got different takes on certain stuff that I've been told. Like, for instance, like Rock DJ, when you're speaking about Rock DJ, I got told that DJ was his drug dealer's name, and the song is all about his drug dealer, which kind of makes a lot more sense when you kind of break it down.
Yeah.
It was his backing singer on that song who told me that. So, and different bits, but I got told that the Take That progress thing was only ever going to happen if Take That went on first and then Robbie come out and did his bit. That was the deal breaker. That was Robbie insisting on doing that. That's what I've been told. That's not gospel, by the way. So I love the fact that kind of Take That of doing the Children Children Needs Rocks with like, did they finish on Greatest Day?
I think they started with Greatest Day, yeah.
Which is like, or they finished on
Yeah.
Rule the World, whatever.
Yeah.
They finish on this amazing track, and then Robbie comes out, it goes nuts, and then he does a brand new album, brand new track in Bodies, and
Yeah,
just takes the roof off. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of, you know, and it's just kind of, and you can see that Robbie's psyched off it, and he's like, you know, and I tell you what I do, I love Mark. Mark's like, at a point,
Yeah.
won't let him go. You know what I mean? When he's hugging him, obviously there's a big bond ship between them two. I think they've always been close between them both. But I do, you know, that one-upman shit is just like, yeah, you do your biggest song ever, and I'll come on and do my new song. And just take it over the notch. You know
Yeah,
what
I hadn't thought
There
of
is
that.
some of
yeah.
that going on. I think you're right.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he also played a small gig at the Metro Theatre in Sydney, Australia, on the 25th of November, and he played at the BBC Radio Theatre to just 200 fans on the 8th of December. And I got through to Radio 1 to win tickets for that, but didn't get picked to go on air, so I was gutted.
And he did a changed up version of the of Killers Human.
Yeah.
And I loved the Killers, favourite band of mine, but it seemed like a bit of a weird rendition of it. Kind of a bit reworked.
Yeah.
But
like
I'd like to hear
country
him sing
folk.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also played at the Melkweg in Amsterdam on the 9th of December to a limited number of fans, where he also sung Human again. And he played at the Apple Store on Regent Street in London for an iTunes live concert on the 17th of December, which is available as an EP on the iTunes Store.
Yeah. I took a look at some fan footage of that iTunes Store gig. And it appeared that everyone had to sit down on chairs, or at least the first few rows were, because where the fan was taking the video, Rob was there on the tiny little stage that they've got, and everyone was sat down. And I think it looks as though they've been told to stay sat down, which I think for Robbie fans is quite hard. So I don't quite know how they did that, but I'm sure he wasn't pleased about that. He was giving it his all, but the atmosphere did look a bit flat in there.
It's a shop, basically.
Yeah, not on his part, but it just like where everyone was sort of sat down. So I'll stick a link on the web page, on the episode page, so you can listen for yourself on that one.
Yeah. So I think we're at the point where we need to say what our favourite is from this episode.
We are.
I think
So
we normally let our guest go first.
Guests have the choice of going first.
I'll go for Blasphemy.
Okay.
Ah.
I thought you might. Because it's a great song.
It is like a toss-up. Yeah, just because it's a little bit more abstract, and, you know, it's kind of, because it's on this album that we probably don't listen to as much as we should do.
Yeah.
That it's just, you know, a song that kind of is a go-to song for me if I'm away, and, you know, I will like kind of can easily just listen to it on repeat and just listen to a different kind of million meanings on it. So yeah, and just obviously it wasn't a single, so for that reason it's Blasphemy.
Okay.
Cool. Lucy, would you like to go next, or would you like me to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm going to choose Bodies because it needs to be on the playlist because it's epic. It's such a tune, you know, so different to all the other songs on the album. And I just think, yeah, it's amazing.
Cool. Well, that made it a lot easier for me because I had two on my list, and it was Bodies or Decepticon. I think I might have given it away earlier on the way I talked about it. So yeah, I love Decepticon. Haunting, amazing song. So got to be on the playlist.
Great.
So, just before we wrap up this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. And also, Lucy and I would really appreciate it if you can leave us a star rating. You can do this on both Apple and Spotify podcasts. We would also love it if you could write us a short review, and you can do this on Apple. Don't forget, you can check out our episode notes for each episode and links to all tracks and videos at robbiewilliamsrewind.com. You can also email us at email@robbiewilliamsrewind.com. Please also follow and chat on our social channels. It's at RewindRobbie on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And you can also like and follow our Facebook page, Robbie Williams Rewind. And before we return to this episode, you might also consider sending us one of your own Robbie stories for the show. Just record a short audio clip on your phone and email it to us. please check the website for more details. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robbie Williams, and you're listening to Robbie Williams Rewind with the Champions.
Thanks for listening. Tune into the next episode when we will discuss Robbie's second greatest hits album, In and Out of Consciousness, with Amanda and Rachel from the Robbie fan charity FanFest.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So, Tony Lewis, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And thanks for supporting the podcast as well. It's been amazing to record with you. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, thanks for having us. You've been like super fun. It's it's a nice little world, Robbie World, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Well, my bank manager hopes so.
And actually, Robbie, I was going to say Robbie. I mean, honestly, looking at you for we've been recording for about 3 hours. You know, it is like looking at Robbie. Tony, where can people find out more about you and what you do if they're interested?
The Daily Mirror, usually. No, I'm more of a Daily Sport man, though, actually. Everything's at Tony as Robbie. My social presence is always me as well. So the input is always kind of not controversial. We're very, pro Robbie and pro the Robbie world and the Robbie fans. It's you guys who kind of support the gigs, and it's just been a great ride so far. And here's to another 20 years for me and another 30 for Robbie, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we'll have a chat and we'll get down to a gig and we'll catch up and have a beer, and then another gig that Matt won't remember.
Yeah.
I'm working on the memory skills. Yeah, working on that. There's some mnemonics I'm working on, but I'm getting there.
Right, okay. Well, thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye, Tony.
Bye.
See you later.
Robbie Williams Rewind.